This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, and welcome to the start of our sunrise safari on this, well, beautiful morning. It really is the perfect conditions at the moment. There's not too much wind. It's nice, and actually it's not too cold either, not like yesterday morning, and so it is perfect for us to be out on a safari. My name is Tristan. On camera I've got Wiem, the wildebeest, this morning, and well, we are coming to you live from South Africa and Kenya and the Masai Mara with Steve, and well, here it will be myself and Taylor will be on a bushwalk a little bit later, and that means that all of you can get hold of us and you can ask as many questions as you like, and you can do so on #SafariLive or at FC on the YouTube chat. And remember, just to keep your questions relevant to what we're seeing, and we'll try and get through as many as possible. Good. Now the plan is for this morning is that we are on the northern boundary. We are going slowly to the east. The reason why we're on the northern boundary is pretty much because we are just quickly checking if any sign of the Nkume Pride chasing buffalo back onto Djuma. But actually really where we're heading is to Buffelshoek Dam. I want to try and see if we can get another glimpse of Umfokazi from yesterday, or see if maybe Tingana showed up at that kill. You never know. Tingana's always following his nose and his tummy around, so we're going to try and head in that direction. If there's nothing there, then southwards down towards Hosana to see if he managed to secure any of his meal from the hyenas. So that's the plan for the morning. Hopefully we will be successful. Hopefully we'll find all the things that we're looking for. As you know, normally with Wiem and I, leopard is the way forward. So that's what we're going to be doing, aren't we, Wiem? Yes, Wiem says yes. Right. Now, like I say, it is a beautiful day. It's not as cold as it was yesterday. There's still a bit of chill to the wind, but not bad at all. I fear it's going to be an absolute scorcher by the end of today, because it hasn't got that same bite as we had yesterday, but yet it is an absolutely clear sky. There is not a single cloud in the sky at the moment. The wind that is blowing is not really kind of a wind, it's just a gentle breeze that feels like it's going to be incredibly hot later in the day. So I think we'll be probably removing most of the layers that we are wearing now by the end of this drive, but that's okay. It means that we're going to at least have beautiful conditions to once again do our safari. Now, while our sun hasn't quite risen just yet, it's on its way. It sounds like Steve up in the Mara, well, he's out, and being that they are a little bit ahead of us, his sun is already started to come up. So let's send you across to him so that he can say good morning to all of you.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome up to the Masai Mara. In the Mara Triangle, we are descending from the Olololo mountain range. We could not help but stop and take in this picturesque view. I know Taylor last night suggested we have a competition about the sunset. At that stage, the sun had already set here, so there was no chance of us competing. But good morning, everybody. My name is Steve. I'm joined by Big James on camera. We are out in the Mara Triangle. We're going to head over towards the burnt area that was burnt around the TV show time. We're going to see if we can catch up with a cheetah or two, who knows, and the rolling plains of the Mara Triangle with the abundance of wildebeest in those open areas. I think regardless of what we find there, it'll be quite spectacular. And unlike Djuma, it is going to be quite nice today. It is about 15 degrees Celsius at the moment, 55 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't perceive it being any hotter than it was yesterday, maybe about a total of 30 degrees Celsius. So it's going to be a lovely day, as it generally is out here in the Mara. The wind that could have woken me up in the night a few times in my flappy tent has since disappeared, and it is a very still dawn. Yesterday was quite windy. The animals look rather skittish, so hopefully today the animals we see looking a little bit nervous will actually be pointing out some predators for us. Don't forget the all-important #SafariLive for a few questions, or drop them in the YouTube chat stream. We'd love to hear from you, see how it is you are doing on this fine, beautiful morning, wherever you are in the world. As you know, we love to enjoy the sunrise. Just spend a moment each day reflecting on how it is we've achieved, or what we've achieved, what we'd like to achieve. Very personal moment. Fantastic. Okay, well, off we go. We're going to slowly descend down the hill while this small herd of zebra is just basically enjoying themselves. Funny that none of them have turned to witness the sun rising behind them. It's almost as if they've seen it all before. which I am sure, no doubt, that they have every day at about this time. Well, it's not me only out this morning, as per usual. We've got Taylor McCurdy. She's on foot this morning. Let's go say good morning.
Hi, everyone. Welcome again to this magnificent morning where I can't decide whether it's hot or cold. Anyways, my name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is David. It's been quite some time. Right, now, as Tristan and Steve have said, this is a live interactive show. Just in case you missed it, here it is for the third time. You can also ask us questions. You all know how to do that by now, I'm sure. Now, I haven't got a clue what we're really going to get up to this morning on Bushwalk. I suppose we're just going to try and see what we can kind of find. Very quiet on Bushwalk, so there probably won't be much talking about plants and grasses and things like that, because there aren't any. So our goal at the moment on Bushwalk is to track animals down and hope to find them. So we'll probably head all the way down towards the southeast, where Hosanna was last seen yesterday, one of the young male leopards in this area. And we'll probably go see if he's still sulking in the Mulwati after he had his kill taken from him. So that's kind of the idea from us, and who knows what we might see along the way. I'd love to see some elephants on foot. That'd be epic. It has been quite some time since I've last had an encounter with them. So whether or not we'll find any, I don't know. There aren't many around. They are around. They're just not here. There's nothing for them to eat. So they're not staying for too long. I'm going to imagine that all the animals are either further north of us, where there is still a little bit of grass towards sort of Auburn, and there's some rather large river systems up there, or they're down to the south of us, where the Sabi and the Sand River are, where I don't think there's any water, but at least there's probably green vegetation around. Right. Sure, Steve has been spending quite a bit of time with the hyenas lately in the Mara, and it seems like today is going to be no different. He's already found one, or maybe two, or maybe three.
Yes, well, this one was not the culprit who stole the food from the poor little chief last night. He is probably still sulking, but I think he'll get over it soon enough. He's used to Tingana stealing his food on a regular basis. Here we have just got one smallish looking hyena on its way up. He's eyeing out a small little sounder of pigs that just moved off without any effort away from this very slow moving hyena. At the moment we heard it calling on our way through, trying to maybe locate the rest of its clan. I could not tell you who it is or where it belongs to, but it is heading directly towards the Olololo range, so you could maybe assume it is part of the Olololo clan, but then I am no hyena expert in the area. All I know is that he's moving around, he's heading in that direction, and we are going to continue on as he disappears, or she disappears, through the long grass. Chris, they are quite dark. I think it's quite a young individual there. It's still quite new. It hasn't faded so much. Still quite young. So just a nice sort of new coat on it. It's not like Waffles that's been around the block a few times. One too many dry cleans, as you were. Although I don't think Waffles has ever had a proper cleaning in her life. Looking at her yesterday, she's probably the dirtiest looking hyena I've ever seen. Just her skin and her face were all pretty scraggly looking, and no doubt each one of those marks on her face have earned her the right to be matriarch. Whereas that little youngster there, nice, chic, clean coat, pretty new in fact, hasn't yet got too much in the way of competition within the clan. So no doubt that time will come. It is a beautiful dawn. Lovely to have you all on board with us, and as always I am super excited to be exploring this place. As James being my navigating guide, we're going to head, as I said, all the way into that distance to where they burnt enormous areas. NVP, no update on the hyena yesterday. I didn't hear anything back from the warden. I'm not sure if he was able to find it, but unfortunately, that is nature, folks. You know, these last night we managed to relocate on that Pride of Lions, and as the show ended, we bumped into the Triangle Boys, which was very, very cool. and they were heading directly towards that pride. But now, okay, well, back down to South Africa. I'm not quite sure what Emma told me there, but Taylor's found something.
Look at how beautiful this tree is. Don't you think it's absolutely gorgeous? Now, some of you might not know what it is. I don't know when last any of us stopped for an apple leaf or Phalaenoptera violaceae, but they are stunning, stunning trees. And this one's just grown all brand new leaves. I don't know why I sound like Dr. Seuss sometimes with my words that accidentally rhyme. But anyway, nobody's got nothing on Dr. Seuss. That guy can rhyme. Anyways, so the reason why we stopped here is not just because of the new leaves, but because of the beautiful purple flowers that are starting to develop on this tree. And I think they're really, really gorgeous with the morning light just starting to catch them, gently blowing in the morning breeze. Hey? All very romantic, don't you think? Anyways, shall we have a look at the flowers? I've got a couple in my hand. I'm going to try and keep them in the sun so that they're illuminated. But how lovely are they? Now, the great thing about Latin names is that they're obviously quite descriptive. So the Latin name for an apple leaf is Phalaenoptera violaceae, and the violaceae obviously refers to the violet, beautiful purple flowers that they get. They can see they're very tiny. They're so petite. So animals that will be feeding off of the nectar and the pollen will need to be very delicate around these flowers, and I imagine it'll be quite small, so maybe we'll find bees and all sorts of other wonderful things pollinating this. I'm sure the monkeys will also go up and maybe eat them. Everything has been eating flowers at the moment. I suppose it's a nice little sustenance boost after eating dried grass and, you know, cracking open maybe some old seed pods, and if you're lucky, finding a bit of a seed. So this will be a nice sort of change. I don't know what the leaves are. Oh, David, I think I've just seen a cuckoo. Where is it going? It's flying. It's very far away. It's going down there. That's we were not going to get a good view, and unfortunately I was holding did you get it flying away? That is a cuckoo of some sort. It looked quite grey, so I wonder if it wasn't an African cuckoo, perhaps? Maybe. I'm actually going to have a look on my mobile device. Okay, let me put my flowers down now. I'm going to open the bird app very quickly. I just can't remember. I haven't seen one of those cuckoos for quite some time. So now I'm trying to remember which one it is. So cuckoo, so they should all start coming back now. Let me have a... Maybe it was a red-chested. Let me just have a quick look. Just checking. Maybe it was a red-chested cuckoo. I can't say I saw the breast of it, though. What else? Yeah, maybe it was. Oh well, okay, well we'll have another look when I get back to camp. I don't know, it definitely looked like... now, Dory, you were asking, do the flowers smell like anything? I don't know, I didn't smell them. Let me see. I'm going to try and pick a few up that I haven't stood on, or maybe me standing on a few of them would help. Let's see if I crush a few up, if there is any scent. You can see they're so tiny. I just about need tweezers to pick them up. Okay. Just give them a bit of a... yes, they do. Very, very subtle smell. To me, everything out here smells like jasmine. And there's a very, very subtle hint of jasmine. They're not well, it's not a particularly pungent smell. It's very, very nice, very pleasant. It's quite sweet. It's kind of like roses and jasmine combined with one another, if you get what I mean. So very, very nice, but not enough to unfortunately fill the air with the sweet scent like the kind of knobthorn trees do. That has to be one of my favourite smells in the bush, is the scent you get of the knobthorn flowers. But I can't believe it. Obviously with all the wind we're having, the flowers have all been blown down all the way till here. Every now and then I'm just seeing a few little purple bits, and it kind of matches this. Hey, Darby, you're matching the tree today. That's Darby's cleaning cloth, which is lovely. Now, we're just going to carry on going down the road now. Again, that we were very lucky that that tree had flowers. So count your blessings today, everybody, because that might be the only colour that we see. Hopefully, I don't know. Yeah, there's not really anything else that's got flowers on at the moment, so it's going to be quite tough to show you any more pretty flowers. But as they sort of start blooming, I suppose we'll like, yeah. I didn't even hear what you just said. Please, me. Snazzy, I've never eaten them before, the flowers on the apple leaf tree. I'm pretty sure the animals will eat them. Like I said, monkeys, you'll have maybe even some birds and things coming through munching on them. I don't know, lots of things will eat them. Maybe the impala will gobble them up, that they're down on the floor. Obviously they can't reach up to the top. But I'm sure that they'll also enjoy a nice tasty flower. Oh, not even surprised by the update I've just been given. So without further ado, off you go to the leopard whisperer, the leopard whisperer at Tristan.
Well, Taylor, I don't know about that. I think we just got lucky once again. But far off in the distance, a long way away, you will see that there is a spotted cat sitting in a tree. So there we go. There it looks like Umfakazi is in his tree busy feeding. We've stopped very far away at the moment, and the reason why is that we just want to get a view of him before we actually go any closer in case he decides to run away. He still is feeding by the looks of it. It is him. I don't know, it's tricky. I mean, we're so far, even with binoculars, all I can see is just spots in the tree itself. Can't really make out too much in the way of his face, and he hasn't looked this way. So, sorry, excuse me, I need to sneeze. Sorry about that. So he hasn't looked at this way at all, so it's difficult to know if it is actually him, for 100% sure. But it looks like it is him. Yes, there we go. Is that it, or is it Tingana? It looks like Tingana, doesn't it? No wonder it hasn't run away. Right. Let's go and have a look. It does look like Tingana to me, so in that case we can just go there. It would explain why we've got tracks for Thandi and Kalamba moving straight in this direction too. So it's, yes, I think maybe this is Tingana has thieved Mfakazi of his kill once again. Now, it's not one of those things, I suppose it's one of those things that happens quite regularly. You know, with these guys, there's a lot of kind of thievery that takes place, and if you want to be in Tingana's territory, well, you must suffer the consequences of the sausage and his ability to find food. So he's obviously come in here and chased him off by the looks of things. It looks exactly like Tingana. When he looked up like that, it looked like him. So also his demeanor you're approaching already is not that of Mfakazi. He's just sitting up in the tree taking it very, very easy. So we'll just carry on heading towards him. There's a hyena underneath. I wonder if Thandi and Kalamba are not here as well. They might also be just sitting around at the base of the tree. Wouldn't that be cool if we had the three of them all at the kill together? Lots of hyena action around, as well as we would probably come to expect from this area. We've been seeing a lot of the hyenas lately. They've been spending a lot of time around here, and so, you know, we would, especially when you've got water points and those kind of things, generally you do see hyenas in the area. Now, it definitely is not Mfakazi. This leopard has not looked at us once. We've been bumbling in here, which we know is very different to his behavior yesterday. It's going to be a bit against the light from this direction. We might have to try and rework our way around and figure it out. You can see the sun is just rising in the background, and we're going to be able to kind of pick up some light. But isn't that a nice silhouette? It's not the nicest tree to see a leopard in, but at least we can see kind of quite well. Now, is it Tingana? It looks like Tingana. Hey, it's Bilby. So Viam and I are looking at it, and the way that this leopard has not even looked at us would definitely indicate it's one of our relaxed boys, and it's not Hosanna, that's for sure. So Tingana would be my bet as to who it is. I'm just trying to see if I can see his little smiley face on his shoulder. Looks like it's there. It's a bit tricky because of the kind of angle that he's at the moment. Yes, there's his smiley face, so definitely Tingana. That's in the tree. And well, did we expect anything else? Probably not, no. So Jamie, you say Tingana's old, he needs meals on wheels. Yes, well, I don't know about that. He seems to have gets himself around quite well at this stage, and he's doing a sterling effort of taking everybody else's food and not having to really do too much work himself. So he's kind of got a nose for it, and he seems to sniff it out. And I wouldn't be surprised if Sausage 2.0 in the form of Hosanna doesn't show up here at some point during the day today as well, because he also has a nose for a carcass. But there's really not that much left there. Unfortunately, there's going to be very little of that by the end of today, especially when Tingana's around. He tends to hoover meat down. I don't actually know where he puts it. He must be one of those that has a separate stomach, maybe, you know, the dessert stomach. I don't know if any of you have heard about that. There's always space and always room for dessert. Tingana seems to have one of those where there's always room for more meat, and he just kind of goes crazy and eats it. Yes, Emma, it is a biological fact, I know. And apparently in Alex's case, it's so Alex, who is our tech genius, he hoovered up 3 desserts last night. So it seems as though Alex has got an enlarged dessert stomach and is definitely able to put dessert away, as well as onions, which is a rather weird thing. But anyway, let's not get into that right now. I'm surprised though that we're not seeing any sign of Thandi and Tlalamba. The tracks that we saw were very, very fresh, moving straight in this direction, on top of all the other tracks on the Buffelshoek boundary, and they were walking straight towards Buffelshoek Dam. In fact, they even were coming towards the water itself. So I was half expecting to find them here rather than Tingana, but Tingi's up in the tree and feeding, and so I wonder if maybe they're not, just didn't pay a visit to him and kind of saw that they're not going to get anything out of this and then moved off. Be quite interesting to know. But either way, the Duke has stamped his authority and has made sure that Umfakazi realizes very quickly that this is not a place for him. I'm pretty sure Umfakazi will not be back anytime shortly, because that's 2 meals that he's managed to get and 2 meals that he's managed to lose due to Tingana making an appearance. And Tingana being a much bigger leopard, it just shows you that both altercations that have taken place, or both incidents, there's been a running away by Umfakazi. So he's not even trying to challenge Tingana in any way whatsoever. He's just kind of forfeiting his meals and moving off. There's no sign of him here at all. I can't see any sign of a leopard in this general vicinity, and so it seems as though he's obviously run away. And given where we are, I would imagine he would have scampered northwards into Buffelshoek and is no longer actually on Djuma itself, which is good news for Tlalamba. And it's always, you know, a bit of a worry when there's another male leopard around, but it seems as though all is okay and, you know, managed to kind of keep everybody at bay. Now, of course, Thandi could also still be here. I mean, I haven't really looked around that much, so it's possible that she could be just somewhere in these thickets. There's lots and lots of different little hidey holes all over the place that could potentially be used by her. So we'll just scratch around, have a little look, see what else we can find. In the meantime, though, back to Steve up in the Mara. I wonder what his plans are for this morning. Maybe he'll have some luck and find those lions that he was following around last night. Maybe they might have been successful.
Well, I don't even know who Umfakazi is. I was watching and listening last night, and how incredible is that? I'd love to know more about him. Not a leopard that was on Djuma in my time there, but he is in the domain of the Duke himself and has to pay, of course, Tingana tax. I think that is quite appropriate. Everybody in Djuma has to pay Tingana tax. And, well, we thought we might show you something that both Hosana, Tingana and Umfakazi would probably enjoy. Some impalas in the Masai Mara, and they are enjoying a few little shrubs growing off of what I think is a termite mound. They are very different in design up here to down in the south, different soil type. And again, these are mainly ladies, but a little bit off to the right, a little bit further back is the male, a little bit more to the back there and right. And the spread of horns and the shadow that you're seeing is the balloon that is going past us. It was not a solar eclipse, folks. It was just a balloon. Some might think from time to time. But look at the spread of horns in that individual. It's incredible. The horns up here in the Mara on these guys is something spectacular. Far bigger than the horns of the impala down in Djuma. And this guy seems to have collected himself a group of ladies that he is keeping very closely to himself. There's not another male in the area. And the impala are one of the few species out here that are in fact mixed feeders. Listen, they do look quite similar to deer in fact, but very different actually in their design. Antelope, ooh, what's he doing? Oh, he's got a scratch on the belly. Oh, that felt good. Those horns though, they will stay on him for life until he dies in fact, and they grow incrementally. He's a fully mature male. You can see they're nicely spread out. And he's more interested in herding his ladies around than in actually feeding. You could see he had like a moment of, ooh, that looks tasty. Nope, I'm herding at the moment. Kind of that sheepdog mentality. Puma, the reason is, and I think it's purely to do with the fact that the vegetation is of a higher quality up here, much higher quality, much more minerals in the soil and in the vegetation. So if you even go into South Africa and you compare the size of kudu horns between one reserve and another, if the vegetation has got different degrees of copper and certain types of magnesium more in the soil than other areas, then you'll probably get a much bigger spread of horns in a kudu or even in an impala. But it's not a hugely diverse sort of domain in the low veld. There are some differences, but between the high velds and the low velds in South Africa, you do see differences in horn sizes. But up here, it's dramatically different. The same species, but separated by an enormous geographical range. So I think a lot of it's got to do with sort of minerals in the diet, but then also the breeding that goes on here. The bigger males will obviously breed, and so a bigger horn is perpetuated. So that's over time, slightly different in evolution, separated by many thousands of kilometers. But he is a spectacular specimen, isn't he? And you don't actually notice the impala in South Africa having such a white throat like he does. Well, I've never really noticed it. He's got a really nice white patch there that I've never really noticed down in South Africa. A little bit of a chin strap, we could call it. His watchful eyes over the ladies. There's no set breeding season here, folks, as there is in South Africa. The impala can breed throughout the year. They don't need to. They haven't evolved the strategy of dropping all their youngsters at the same time to flood the market, as you were. So they kind of just pop them out whenever, really. There might be sort of a peak, but I don't think there is a set breeding season itself. There might be sort of like a time when they prefer to drop their youngsters, but it's not as set in stone as down south. And all the ladies down there are starting to probably show quite nicely. Only a month or so away from giving birth. A very stressful time for those females, especially with leopards like Tingana and new leopards on the block prowling around.
Well, it is a stressful time for impalas. They're going to be, unfortunately, at their worst condition, as well as the females being heavily pregnant, and that means that the likes of Tingana are going to go after them quite regularly. Unfortunately, this tree is horrible for being able to actually see nicely, and so we tried to position ourselves with the sunlight to see if we could see a bit better, but alas, it has not worked that well. Now, Tingana's having a bit of a struggle trying to chew down a bone that he has now shoved into his gullets, and it is really proving to be quite difficult to get that said piece of meat, bone, whatever it is, actually down. So he's kind of chewing it from side to side, and it's interesting how kind of he has this knack for just showing up. I just don't know how he figures it out all the time. And he was sawing yesterday from what sounded like Gallagher shortcut area. Now from there to here is a very long way, and it's not a way that you kind of just randomly amble along. And we know it's part of his territory and he does patrol this area, but for some reason he's somehow worked out that there was something going on here and has made his way into this area. He always seems to be in the right place at the right time when it comes to food, so he's a good kind of study in terms of how good a sense of a leopard is. I wonder if he just smells it or hears it, or if there's something that attracts him to this, because it can't just be a sort of luck every time that he happens to be in the area where there is a carcass. He seems to just find them better than what hyenas do at this stage, and he kind of figures it out quite quickly. But either way, he's done a good job and is going to probably feed himself silly. He's had a really good run this week. I mean, he's had warthog, he's had impala, and now he's got another impala. So he's had a really good feast and has got a lot of variety in his diet over the course of the last 7 days. He's pretty much been on food every single day, bar yesterday, as far as we know. He's been sitting on a carcass. So he's had a really good week, and that will go a long way to keeping his condition very healthy, and him in as good a kind of condition as he needs to be in order to defend this territory. Well, hello, it's how high can a tree grow, basically. A leopard can go as far as it wants to. There's been sightings of leopards climbing probably 20-25 meters straight up into the sky. Well, not into the sky, but into a tree up into the sky. So very, very tall trees. There was actually a crazy video going around at some point. I think it was shot at Londolozi. Maybe somebody can try and find it, of a very old male leopard that climbed a huge tree to get to a fish eagle nest that was at the top of the tree, and it was taken by the chicks were taken by the leopard in the end. So it was a pretty crazy sighting. There was a fish eagle, might have been a vulture, but one of the two. And I think Adam actually shot it. So the guy that I went to Congo with, he actually maybe filmed it, if I remember correctly. But it was an amazing thing to kind of see how it played out and how it sort of happened. And that was way, 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 way up, far higher than you would think a leopard would be comfortable. But they can go very, very high. As long as the tree is stable enough up there, they'll get up and they'll make a plan and find a way to get into those top ends of the tree. And that particular leopard was a very old male, and so you can imagine a younger, fitter individual can probably go even higher. And if it's a light female, well, they can get into areas where others can't. What's actually quite interesting is not so much Tingana at the moment, but the hyena's behavior that we've got here. We've got two hyenas, so one at the base of the tree, and then that one that's lying down behind us in this kind of little sort of drainage section, which is really difficult to see. You can just kind of make out the hyena moving around, and it keeps moving like this. Look, now watch its body posture. So it wants to come in, and then it sees who the other hyena is and says, no, I can't go there. And then it goes into the sand, digs the sand, and then it rolls around. Now watch, it's going to roll around. It should. There we go. There we go. So rubbing itself, rolling in the sand itself. Now it hears a piece of carcass dropping, or it hears something moving, then it gets up and it does the same thing. And it's done it about 15 times now, back and forth going like this. And I wonder if it's because it's just trying to kind of almost, I don't know, woo this other hyena to allow it to maybe get in and get some food, or if it's just in a playful mood. But it's the same kind of movement over and over again. It definitely seems very nervous of this other hyena. It does not want to go anywhere near it. It's decided that I am not in the mood to try and deal with others. Now, I'm not sure who they are at the moment. I'm busy just looking at their spots to try and work out who is who. I'll eventually get this right between these hyenas. I'm slowly but surely starting to recognize certain individuals, and it takes a bit of time just to learn them. I find it a lot more tricky than leopards. For some reason, leopards come to me fairly easily. You just see the kind of face and the overall look and know who they are, whereas hyenas, you know, the spot patterns have got to be remembered, and it's also, I suppose, a lot more of them, and so you kind of have to work out exactly who is who. Carol, maybe. It's possible that the leopards will learn that there's a lot more hyena presence than there has been over the past few months, and adapt their hunting accordingly. So they might see them hunting a lot more during the day than they would at night. Also certainly going to tree their kills a lot quicker than what they used to. So what was quite interesting is obviously Mfokazi has come from an area where there's been a lot of hyenas, because both times we've seen him on a kill, he's hoisted the kills almost immediately. So he knows straight away, whereas we know, you know, leopards like Tundi don't tend to do that, and they're going to learn very quickly. Now, what's also happening on the other side is quite cool. There's a blacksmith lapwing that is very upset with what looks like a tawny eagle, and so the poor tawny eagle is being dive bombed and bombarded by a blacksmith lapwing. You'll see the lapwing kind of coming in, there it comes, and doing these kind of dive bombing passes. So basically it's trying to chase that bird of prey away and say, you're not welcome in this area at all, get out of here. And you can hear it squeaking and squawking as it kind of does these passes and tries to chase this poor tawny eagle who's just sitting trying to absorb some sunlight. It's just having a very bad morning, that tawny eagle. This poor blacksmith lapwing is absolutely destroying its morning's peace. It's nothing like a sunrise to enjoy when you've got a lapwing kind of dive bombing you from every direction. There it comes again. And you can see the lapwing is clever. It goes close enough that it's irritating, but not too close that it actually makes contact and gets in a way that could endanger itself, but it makes itself a nuisance, that's for sure, and really does irritate that tawny eagle. It's quite funny actually to watch what's going on. Let's see if it comes in again. And they eventually get bored of it when the tawny eagle just sits for long enough. Is it actually a tawny or is it a Wahlberg's? It could actually be a Wahlberg's. It's got a little crest there and quite a long tail. I'll have to look a little bit closely. It looks just a bit big for a Wahlberg's from here, but the way it's sitting like that does look a little bit Wahlberg's like. And that's maybe why that bird is going so crazy, because Wahlberg's eagles obviously are potential hunters of other birds and generally gets the birds to go crazy. Here comes our hyena again, doing the same story that it was doing earlier. There, running up the bank, looking, then back down to go and shovel some more sand and then roll in it. Strange behavior. I've never seen a hyena do this as repetitively as it's doing this morning. Now, here we go, roll around again. Now, so while we kind of figure out why this hyena is doing this and maybe try and see if we can get a better angle on Tingana, let's send you back across to Taylor on a bush walk and see if she's managed to get any closer to where Hosana was having a sulk yesterday after his meal was killed. Taken.
No, we haven't. We've just got some birds bouncing around in a leadwood tree at the back. They're all very excited, as you can see, warming up, I think, in the morning sun. I don't think they're doing any feeding just yet. There's a whole lot of birds there. I can hear starlings, I can see hornbills, they were go-away birds. I'm not sure what else is up there. It's quite difficult, but I'm sure there's quite a few. Little birds fluttering around. Now, no, we haven't picked up any sign on Hosana just yet. We're still trying to march into the area. So on our way, obviously on our way to where he was last seen, there isn't anything. So yeah, it's been particularly quiet around here as it normally is. Just trying to see, there's something buzzing here and I don't know what it is. Come look here, Darby. I wonder if it's one of the diurnal moths. Do you see that skill? Professional moth catcher. Are you ready? Oh, oh, oh. It is. It's one of the... No! Come back! Okay, anyway, sorry, it won't stay still. It's a very slow flying moth. Goodness, that's a tongue twister. I'm losing all my wiring now. We'll sort that out just now. So, they're definitely... Yes! Got it. Are you ready? Yep. You see why sometimes ADD is really great? Because it's a ninja skill. Okay, ready. It's going to fly.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Aww. It won't stay. Anyways, I don't know. That was a fail. Sliding down. Whoops. Where's it gone now? Trying to act all cool. This is awkward, as usual. I don't know which one it was, but it's definitely maybe one of the burnet moths. It wasn't a fire grid burnet, but it's definitely a diurnal moth. Whew, now I'm out of breath, which is quite cool. Ah, it was beautiful. It was like a navy blue. It had a little bit of orange on it, some white. That was very, very pretty. So we don't see them all the time, but we do often see the fire grid burnet moth. If I'm not mistaken, then there's one other that we see quite regularly. But I haven't seen them for quite some time. That's my exercise. I'm done now. That was hectic working with thick sand there. Oh, wonderful. Well, that was exciting to see. I didn't think we were going to get to see one of those moths. Not a knot. Anyways, Steve is looking not at a moth, but it also has wings, but is much taller than that little insect.
Well, we are in the very open areas, we're now west of the resort of Serena, heading towards the burnt area, and we thought, well, there's lots of you out there that love to see ostrich. So in the far distance, we can spot him. And we talk about ostrich and Djuma from time to time when we get their tracks, and every now and again they pop up. But this is the landscape that ostriches thrive in. They can see far. They can put their head down. It's difficult for things to sneak up on them, where if you look at Djuma, how dense and well vegetated it is from a bush perspective, very difficult for them to really do very well there because, well, the predators are just able to catch them. And there is indeed a male ostrich. You can see the white and the black. And they're invariably grazers and feeding on bulbs as well if they can get at them. One ate my tennis ball many years ago when we were playing a bit of cricket. I didn't like him very much. He swallowed the entire thing. He wasn't a favourite that weekend because we only had one tennis ball. Conrad and FC will be able to relate to having your only tennis ball stolen when you're a young boy trying to play cricket. Needless to say, we did try and get it back from him, but they are quite scary animals, you know. There's something very prehistoric about an ostrich, and they've got very, very crazy looking eyes, magnificent eyelashes though, but something about them that's just really, it's quite frightening. It's the one animal I'm actually afraid of on foot, because, you know, if it attacks you, it's got this very powerful front kick, these very sharp claws, and the only way to defend yourself really is to curl up in a ball and lie on the floor, and hopefully it's 75 kilograms is not going to stand on you too heavily and leave too much of a mark on your skin. But never try and run away from an ostrich, because you will not manage to get away from it. It's very fast animals. And there you can see the beautiful landscape. In the distance is a collection of trees, animals, and just magnificence. Well, thanks for that, James. We're heading, as I said, towards the burnt area, and a cheetah would definitely give this ostrich a go. So it needs to feed for a bit of time and then pick its head up. Chris, it's really hard to say, you know. I haven't spent too much time in my life with ostriches, but the ostriches I've seen sometimes accumulate in groups. You might have a few males together, or you might have a male with a few females. They are not, I wouldn't say gregarious, but sometimes you find them solitary. But in more arid parts of Africa, you do find them in larger groups. But generally families do band off together, a male and a female. Him obviously the more impressive of the two, with his black and white feathers, her are more drab, and the purpose for that being that he apparently does the egg guarding or incubation at night, whereas she does it during the day when her camouflage is obviously more well suited to the daytime hours, and the black much more suited to the nighttime. Very large eggs they produce, precocial, and when they are born they just basically, when they hatch, they follow mum around. It's the cutest thing to see. Wow, Alyssa, well, an ostrich can run much faster than we can. I'm trying to think of the speeds now. Probably about 70 odd kilometers an hour. So that is pretty quick. It's not as fast as the cheetah or the sprinting speed of a leopard. So 75, probably about 30 odd miles an hour, somewhere around there. If my maths is probably not 100% right, and they are very quick. I've seen a few videos of cyclists being chased by ostriches that have just gotten into their head that they would like to chase you down for who knows whatever reason, but you suddenly see cyclists become very quick at pedaling. You're on a bike, you're quite prone to being attacked by one, and there they are, developing very beautiful bright orangey legs in the breeding season. So that's what the ladies like, orangey pink legs. This is what's magnificent about this place, is that ostrich is probably about 500 meters from us, maybe more. Rena, ostriches aren't necessarily domesticated. I mean, you do get them as sort of pets around people's houses, but they do tame down. But there are areas in South Africa where people ride ostriches down in the Oudtshoorn area. I don't really believe in that. I think that's quite cruel. They farmed quite extensively in South Africa for the meat and for the feathers. They even farmed in Spain. I remember there was ostrich meat and ostrich feathers in Mallorca in Spain when I was there years ago. But domesticated wise, they steal tennis balls from young boys who try to play cricket. I don't think that's very domesticated. But they do tame down, but I never trust them. I've been in places where there's ostriches that are free roaming within the confines of your sort of camp, and I just don't trust them. They give you this look and they open their mouth, and I have been scarred by ostriches. It's the one animal that I don't know, there's something about them that they don't give me any sign of that they are friendly, if that makes any sense. They come towards you, they're almost begging for something. They open their beak, they can snap their beak quite tightly, almost like a goose can. And you know, a swan can give you quite a nip if it wants to. Ostrich can do the same. Well, they look like they can. A very prehistoric thing. But I wonder if there's anyone out there who's ever had an ostrich as a pet. I don't really condone the riding of ostriches because, I mean, if you think about it, most people weigh equivalently the same, or most men weigh more than an ostrich. Maybe, you know, if as a fun thing, have a child riding on one, but I still don't think it's the most ideal thing. I've seen fully grown adults bigger than myself, maybe not James's size. James you're a big lad, James. You'd definitely squash that ostrich, but big men riding on ostriches, I don't think that's ideal. Poor things. But there he goes, in the open. A bachelor today, it seems. Okay, well, we've given Taylor enough time to catch her breath from her antics. Let's go back down and see how she's doing.
Exactly the same position that you saw us in. We haven't really had much chance to get anywhere. Except that I've taken my jersey off now. We can hear lions calling in the distance, but we kind of know where they are. They're in Buffels Hook. So they're making quite a bit of noise. It's not too loud. We might be able to pick it up on the dam cam. Perhaps that mic is super sensitive. But we haven't picked up anything on Hosannas. We're still trying to get into the area. So we're kind of just walking and marching along, looking for any possible signs, trying to walk on routes that he would actually walk. No luck just yet. So I'm hoping in the next 10 minutes or so we'll be kind of in the area where we need to be. We've been trying to march as quick as we can. Q1, I haven't found an actual beehive. I found a beehive in the Mara. However, we have found a few stingless bees, or the Mapani flies as they're also known as, around. But I don't know if we've seen them a little bit on drive. They sit on your arms and stuff. They go after the sweat. Or they also call them sweat bees too. There's lots of different names for them. And we found a couple of their hives. There's even one in the tent living in a giraffe skull, which is quite cool. But other than that, no, I haven't seen many. I've had to duck and hide away because we've had a couple of swarms of bees come over us. But I've never managed to find a hide here in Djuma. Maybe, I'm sure there are lots, but they've obviously just kept them hidden away. I haven't ever tried to follow a honey guide, which is a bird that typically will lead you to a beehive. They like to eat the larvae, they like to eat the wax, they like to eat quite a bit of it. And of course it's a treat for them, and they kind of use man, hoping that man will smoke them out so that the bird doesn't get stung either. And then they're able to have some of the delicious treats. So we're going down into the Mulwati now. I suppose this is a good area to just check around. Obviously on bushwalk it's a lot easier to see tracks on the floor, but it's also important to look around and look about. If you keep your eyes glued to this floor, you're going to end up walking straight into a buffalo. And there are lots and lots and lots of buffalo around at this time of the year. So we're not winning just yet, but hopefully in a little while we will. So we'll just kind of keep going. Also trying to be as quiet as we can so that if we do hear any alarm calls, we'll hear them and we can kind of follow up on them. Wonderful. Okay, goodness, now we've got to navigate through this very, very thick sand. We're in the Mulwati. Let's go back up to the east where Tristan has got a Tingana and he's munching away.
We do indeed, and we also have a hyena that's running in with speed at the moment. I don't know why it's kind of coming in here thinking that it's going to get something, but look at how it's running in. Now we should see a greeting kind of ceremony between Ribbon, who's the one closest to us, and this individual that's just arrived. Looks like one of the females. Now look at that, look at that. So they present each other, they sniff each other's genitals. This is typical hyena greeting behavior, and you can see Ribbon's a little bit more kind of submissive about what she's doing. The other hyena's got her head up, Ribbon's kind of hunched. Now the two of them should start making their way. Look at that, there we go, they're moving towards it. How cool is that? We've had such great hyena behavior of late. It's been really, really, really cool to see. She's just going to sniff around. We have got ourselves into a really cool spot. We're kind of right near where Tingana is. Look at that. Isn't that cool? He's kind of silhouetted against this blue sky and is just peering out over his kingdom now that he's filled his belly. He really does have a full tummy. And I don't think he's going to come down just yet, given that there's now another hyena on the scene. There's 3 of them. And Tingana's going to try and stay up there. The problem is that it is, well, not the most comfortable tree at all, to be honest. It's a tree that is unfortunately going to be very difficult to actually spend time in. He's not going to have nice branches to lie on, but it's still just such a cool angle on a leopard. What has he seen? He's seen something. Now he's going to come down straight at these hyenas. Maybe that other leopard is here and he's now seen it and wants to go and chase it off. Tingana, why would you come down when you've got... I wonder if he didn't see another leopard, because he all of a sudden shot up and is looking this kind of back, and to take on a whole bunch of hyenas means he's irritated with somebody else. So let's just go back quickly and see what's going on. Maybe we can get a view as well over this drainage line story. Now I'm going to hit myself. Tingana's busy running away for some reason. I'm going to try and turn around here now. Ooh, I don't know if we can get around in this section. Hold on. Something has definitely got Tingana moving, and I wonder what it is. Maybe it could obviously be another leopard. It could be maybe approaching big cats like lions. But something is not making him happy at all. I can't see where he's gone now. I'm just going to try and turn around here. Ah, come on, Rusty. There we go. You can see him behind us still watching over this drainage line onto the other side. So, Wisteria, you say he shot off like a rocket. He did. Something has irritated him massively, and I don't know quite what it is. He's definitely saw something and came shooting down that tree and ran off into this distance and is looking very intently to the north. So I don't know, maybe it could be lions, it could be Umfakazi is still somewhere in this general vicinity, it could be anything really that is making him a little bit nervous. Where's he gone? On the other side of this drainage line, because that's where he's kind of looking, but I don't see anything approaching. The way that he shot off was like something was there. I can also see he looks like he's salivating a little bit as well. Now, the only reason he would be going away from the kill is, one, if it was... he's gone way away from this kill now. What's going on, Tingana? Definitely something is not right here, and something has made him a bit nervous. And it's not like he's going for water, because he's headed far away as well. He's laid down here. He's just lying down in a thicket now. And he's just grooming himself. Interesting. Where he's moved off to is right into a deep thicket that's quite far, as you can see. I mean, we drove quite far from the kill, and from here I doubt any other predator is going to really bother with him if they see a kill up there. But he definitely saw something that made him jump out of that tree immediately and get out and risk being kind of chased by hyena, which generally you don't see with leopards. They normally will kind of wait it out, or they'll try and get down and move away. But the way he was looking, as soon as he came down, he was looking straight over. He wasn't looking at the hyenas at all, so it wasn't anything to do with them. It was something else that frightened him. So maybe there's lions on the prowl, maybe there's, I don't know, what else could it be? Other leopard, maybe? Bold Council, yes, lions would be able to climb the tree. They would easily be able to get up into a tree like that. Everybody always kind of thinks that lions don't really climb, but they are able to climb very well and do climb very well. So it's an interesting kind of thing to watch. They are able to do it fairly well, and they kind of get up into trees, and a tree like that, most definitely. The problem is for Tingana is that that kind of tree, there's nowhere for him to go if lions do go up there. If they get into that tree, he's got no chance. He's going to unfortunately get himself into a massive problem, and that's the only thing I can think of that would cause him to run down the tree like he did and risk being bitten by hyenas and look as shy and as skittish as he was when he ran away. He's now kind of settled down quite a bit. He's just grooming himself out, but he's still got his eyes quite wide and kind of looking around. And it just goes to show you, I mean, if you came now, you wouldn't think there's a leopard there, but yet there he's sitting. You can see, look, he's still wide-eyed, isn't he? Kind of looking around. What have you seen, Tingana? I can't see anything, to be honest. I'm looking everywhere, and I don't see any kind of sign of something else moving. Well, I'm going to just check around and try and see if I can figure out why Tingana got such a fright, and while we do that, let's send you back across to Steve and hope that he's having an epic morning like we are.
Is it time for the Duke to pay some taxes? Who is he looking at? Well, we've spotted ourselves a very large lappet-faced vulture, and probably one of the most important of the vultures out here, because a lot of the animals in the Mara and in the Serengeti area actually die of natural causes or maybe just of old age, and they're actually never found by scavengers in the form of lion and hyena. So lappet-faced vultures are instrumental in opening up the carcass and allowing access to the other vultures, the multitudes of others that will arrive on the scene. And he is perched, or she is perched, on one of the few trees on the landscape, and the wind is coming from in front of it. So if it wants to take off, it just has to jump, and well, it sounds quite easy, but it's a very heavy bird, quite a lot of wind and quite a lot of thermal action to get it up. It's perched nicely. You can quite often tell direction of wind by the way that birds perch. They generally face into the wind because their bodies are more streamlined to the direction that the wind flows, and also it assists them in the launching off, because if it jumps up, it just has to open the wings and the wind will just scoop it up into the air. Monique, it is a stunning picture. Look at the size of the beak. So much bigger than the other vulture beaks that we see. And it's really not easy to compare the size when it's sitting on its own, but when it's with the other vultures, it is enormously big. And talking about enormously big birds, back onto the topic of that vulture, I was fed through a comment that Johnny Cash, in fact, had a pet ostrich, and the pet ostrich put him in hospital. So, as I said, I don't trust those guys. I don't trust them at all. They've just got their own little thing, and when you're as big as an ostrich, well, you get your own way from time to time. But a beautiful picture nonetheless of this. Looks like it's sitting in a gardenia, in fact. Are those fruits? I don't know what the gardenia up here is. We get the Gardenia volkensii in South Africa, but you see those fruits? I initially thought that very round one behind its bottom was maybe a dried piece of poo, but it's not. It looks like a gardenia to me. In South Africa we call the Mercedes-Benz tree because of the shape of the branches. But anyway, we are moving continuously on, and in front of us there is a scene unfolding in the landscape that we're going to be witness to, and I'm going to see if we can quickly just show you a brief little glimpse of it. It is just multitudes and multitudes of animals on the burnt area. James is just going to scan, and what you think is trees and shrubs is going to turn out to be thousands of animals. As we come into picture now, you can just see the sort of lighter green patch. There we go. There we go, James. In you go. That whole area that you see there that looks like lots of shrubs is in fact zebra and wildebeest. Have a look at this. surrounded by it. So we're going to make our way there soon, see if we can find ourselves any sign of Naratoi. And while we do that, let's go back over to the Duke and see what's keeping him awake.
Well, we can't see anything. He's still looking very, very alert up to the north and kind of away from where he's run away from. And so I'm not sure what it is exactly that's done that, but there's very few things that motivate Tingana to move as quickly as he did like that. And normally it's pretty much lions would be my kind of first guess, and so I don't think there's anything else that could have done it. Maybe he spotted them from far away and decided he's just going to get down for now and make sure he's out of the way. But the way he ran off was of a cat that was very nervous of what was going on. But at least we got a nice view of him now. He's grooming himself, getting rid of all of these kind of bits of meat and things that are on his face, and that's making it a little bit kind of cleaner, which is good. So Gemma, with wild dogs, no, he would have stayed up in the tree. The dogs can't get him up in the tree, and so he would have stayed up there. He wouldn't worry about that. Same with hyenas. And even, at first when he came down, I thought maybe Mfokazi had come back and he was going to go and chase him. But then the way he ran away from the kill and away from where he would probably be trying to protect, it gives me a reason to think that it's something he's scared of. And so I wonder if it's not lions that are around, or maybe he just wanted to get out of there so badly. He was just fed up and he knew that he had to just run and get away from the hyenas, and was maybe trying to fake a kind of scenario, and then you'd look in the distance and they would go and check that out and leave him alone. I don't know, it's difficult to kind of say, but how cool is that view? Well done, Vildi. That is amazing. You can actually see how the hooks on his tongue are scraping his fur and getting the fur all kind of matted and lined up with his saliva. That's very cool. How cool is that? Well done, Tingy. You're making yourself look very good. But you can see he's still kind of just looking over his shoulder. That's the direction he was looking when he eventually kind of started running. So I'm not sure what's going on, but we'll sit here, we'll be patient. Maybe we'll get some sort of sign. Now you see he's up, and I wonder if he's going to move again. He's also salivating, which is generally a sign that something is not right. So while we do that, let's send you across to Taylor, who's apparently got a track.
We have indeed found a track, and it is a rather large one. I'm going to come put my hand next to it for scale before I throw the radio away, because it just kind of won't stay where it's supposed to go. So I'm just going to quickly outline the whole track. There's the back toe, that's the claw. Here's the toe. And then here are the other toes. It looks like this track was maybe stood on twice, because there's quite a few, or it could be some Impala tracks or something. But look how, gotta get this side, look how massive it is. Huge, eh? The size, actually longer than the length of my hand. So there's only one bird that I can think of that has a massive track like this, and that is a southern ground hornbill. Now, I thought we would have seen a few more of the tracks crossing the road, because we know that the hornbills are fairly gregarious, especially the southern ground hornbills. They obviously can live in big family groups, but it walked all the way along here and straight down that way. Now, this does look like it's from yesterday sometime, maybe yesterday afternoon. It's quite, the track's quite deteriorated. There's quite a bit of sand that's blown over it. And we do often see them along these drainage lines, because at the moment they've got the best kind of trees to roost in. It's also nice and cool. And on these hot spring evenings, I think they're also seeking out, a bit of the cooler temperatures after the scorching hot days. So they will come and roost around up in these big leadwoods and the other trees all along here. But that's very nice to see. They've got exceptionally big feet. They've got quite a big stride too. Still nothing on Hosana. That's he hasn't come this way. Obviously, we've now figured out that with the ways he hasn't gone. So we're just going to keep on moving down towards the Mulwatu. We're hugging it at the moment, and hopefully we'll find him soon. But off you go to Steve.
I don't know why she has to jump back to us, like she's got this.
I don't know.
Well, thank you, Taylor. We have now got a comparative size of a female ostrich with what I think is a Thompson's gazelle. We are officially in the open burnt area. And you can see the female's a little bit more drab than the male was. And she is quite big, but gazelles are generally quite small animals. Much smaller than we think. Comparatively, from the size of the ostrich. Ostrich stands about the height of a man. And Tommy's very, very small. And these are, both of them, a good food source for a cheetah. So we've come into the area and we're scanning the horizon, see if we can find any sort of sign of maybe vehicles watching a cheetah or any sort of small cheetah-like animal sitting on top of a termite mound. The landscape is littered with animals. There are warthog and wildebeest, eland, impala, zebra, of course. Good morning, Duke. The rhino don't occur really in this area. Where we were yesterday in the marsh, sort of that area, a little bit more sort of eastish from that side, is kind of where the rhinos seem to spend most of their time. So we will at some stage get there again, but we have come in search of the open area and the burnt area. And the black rhino, well, they are browsers, exclusively browsers, so they're looking for bushes, and there's not too many of them around here. So they will tend to stick to the riverine areas and the thickets where they can obviously find cover, as well as necessary browse to support their very large bulk. The wind has picked up a little bit. It's just beautiful to be out. One of the most important tools, I think, most important tools actually is a pair of binoculars. Carol, you want to know how long the burnt grass will feed the animals? Well, before I answer that, James, we've got some eland coming across over here on the right, if you want to just show them that. Carol, the burnt grass essentially, after the rains have fallen, the grass itself, before it was burnt, would have been stimulated. Then as soon as it burns, it stimulates again. So quite a large area has been burnt. So this is going to keep growing, almost like your lawn does back home. The animals are just going to crop it down, and within a few weeks or so, you're probably going to see a lot of these animals start moving off. But there's no real time frame given. It's a very large area, so there's a lot of biomass produced. I mean, areas like this in the huge, the very nutrient-rich soil produces 2 pounds of grass per square yard every month. So it is an enormous area that we have here. So there is a lot of grass. There's plenty of it to sustain all of the animals. And once it has been mowed down to the proper height, well, the animals will move off to better feeding. Grass is greener on the other side, they'd like to say. And there is the eland, a mixed feeder, but also a very, very good grazing animal, related to the kuru, the biggest of the Tragelaphus family. Probably the biggest, well, the largest antelope in the world, in fact, the eland. And that's something that I have on my bucket list, to see a pride of lions trying to take down a big eland bull, because they are enormous. They actually get this blue sheen on them, and this enormous dewlap that waddles from side to side. Well, anyway, we're going to move on and still keep in search of our cheetah in the area, but in the meantime, let's go over to Tristan and the Duke.
So we're still trying to follow Tingana. Whatever has upset him is still upsetting him, because he's moving quickly kind of southwards now and away from this kill, which is very odd. I don't understand why he's moving this way. He keeps looking over his shoulder as well. He's definitely not comfortable with something. So whatever it is, Tingana is hopefully going to be okay. We can't seem to find any sign of any predators or anything like that. I'll obviously go back to the kill at some point, and see what we can find. But I don't know, where's he gone now? Yeah, I've lost him. Does he lay down now? Just standing there, okay. Oh, there he is there. And he's just going to coast through and carry on. I wonder what is going on with Tingana, because, and like his normal behavior, he doesn't just abandon carcasses, and now he's laid down. Okay, well, we'll try and get in there. It's going to be a bit tricky to get in there. We'll try our very, very, very best to try and figure a way through this kind of thickets area. It's very close to the road on the other side by the looks of things, but let's just try and get through here. Work out where's our best bet in terms of positioning ourselves to actually see him nicely. The way he's lying is kind of out in the open, but the problem that we have is the light is going to be poor every single way that we go. So now we're going to have to drop our antenna, so I do apologize if there's a little bit of signal breakup when we do this. It's just unfortunate that it'll be quick. There we go. Right, now, while we try and get through all of this and sort this all out, let's send you across to Taylor, who's got a beautiful bird, and let's not hesitate before it flies away.
We do. I don't know if you can hear the sounds. I'm just going to stand quietly for a second. Can you hear the birds? So those birds are all alarming. Go-away birds, there's babblers, there's a few batises. They're alarming at that spotted eagle owl. And there's a pair of them just living in this drainage system in the Mulwati. Now, we obviously heard all the commotion. It was 10 times louder than what you can hear. And we didn't think it was a leopard or anything, but we thought it might have been either a snake or a bird of prey or something. And the fact that it's down in the drainage line where it's nice and cool and out of the sun, it's the perfect spot for owls to roost. I don't know where the second one has gone, but that's very, very cool that it's actually come out and is sort of sitting out in the open now. Do you want to see if we can get closer, Darby? Okay, let's try to sneak a little bit closer. It probably is going to fly, but let's just see. Yeah, Ravinda, this is very cool to see owls on walk. I've actually had quite a bit of luck with owls. Remember we had that Verreaux's eagle owl. Just jumped up to the next branch, turning back and looking at us now. They're beautiful owls, and they're easily the most common owl that we see in South Africa. They're everywhere. They're often the ones that you'll see in the cities too. I know a few friends who's had massive owls like this who have tried to get dogs and things like that, like really small fluffy dogs. A friend of mine, I'll never forget, she messaged me. She's like, "What owl is this?" And they lived out on a farm. And I was like, "Oh, it's a spotted eagle." I was like, "That's really lucky." She goes, "I don't like them." She's like, "They were swooping down and trying to get Yazzie," which was one of the names of their dogs. And she's this, I don't actually know what she is. I think she's a Yorkie cross little poodle, Maltese or something like that. There, all the birds, look how they're all flying in. See how they're mobbing it now? Those are Retz's helmet trikes that are now mobbing it on the head, another gregarious bird species. They are so unimpressed by that owl. Look at that. Bow. Now, they're not quite making contact just yet. They're just getting close enough that that owl is having to obviously duck. And they're going to keep doing it and hope that they chase the owl away. They probably will follow it too. That's a beautiful sound that those birds make. I wish we had an ambient mic here. This would have been amazing. Look at them. So brave as well. Now, it's obviously quite risky for birds to mob birds of prey, because by doing this, they run the risk, of course, of eventually the raptor retaliating and might even grab one. I've seen snakes do it, where snakes are being mobbed by birds and end up grabbing one of the birds it's being mobbed by. And also, they're wasting a lot of energy. So, at times of the year like this, when there isn't a lot of food around, not a lot of insects, there's not a lot of fruit, there's not a lot of seeds, all these types of things, it's important that these animals sort of reserve their energy. So by making the choice of mobbing, they could be using valuable fat reserves. But luckily for the Retz's helmet trikes, they don't really have to go very far, and they're not any migrants, they're not intra-African migrants or Palearctic migrants, so they're residents. They're just sort of uncommon. You don't get to see them all the time. So that's really, really cool. So the other one must be somewhere else in the tree. Now, Lulu, you've said you've never seen this before. It's actually fairly common behavior, but to have so many different birds come through. I mean, there was a black-headed oriole here at one point. I saw the chin-spot batters. There were, of course, the Rhetta's helmet shrikes, the babblers, the go-away birds. There was an African hoopoo. There were so many different things around here, and they're all very unimpressed. Hey, everyone getting their last sort of mobbing in. Rhetta's helmet shrikes before they all move off. That is epic. Now, hopefully that little owl will be able to rest in peace throughout the rest of the day without being harassed by too many more birds. Although that's kind of a hot spot. A lot of birds are going to go and sit there because it's nice and shady, and it's going to be exceptionally warm today. So I think it's going to have to find itself a better perch, also not in direct sunlight. But that is awesome. Very nice to see. But I think we'll leave this owl now and we'll carry on with our main goal of trying to find Hosanna. So I'm just going to sneak around here. But we haven't picked up on any tracks just yet. Right, we're going to keep walking. We're probably going to go down to the Mulwati. Hopefully not disturb that owl. We'll try our best. Or if we go back to Tristan.
Well, good luck, Taylor. Hopefully you'll carry on finding amazing things. It sounded like an awesome sighting of a spotted eagle. It's been a long time since I've seen one of those, so that's very cool. Actually, last night we did see an owl as well, which I think, I didn't get a good look at it at all, and it's a big assumption, but it's right where we saw that last barn owl close to Buffelshoek Dam last night, and we saw it fly off, and it looked a bit barn owlish, but couldn't really say for sure. Either way, it doesn't matter. We are still with Tingana, and he's still twitchy. He's not his normal, relaxed, full, happy cat self when he's got a meal. He's looking over at that carcass and just kind of staring in there, and any movement causes him to kind of twitch and his ears to move and his eyes to go, and he's got his nose up to the air constantly. Maybe Thandi and Tlalamba are also here. Look at that, you see? He's looking over back towards that carcass. What's going on, Tingy? Now, if it was lions, I don't think he would have made that call. Lions would be attracting attention to himself, but I wonder what's going on. Something is not right, and something is not making him happy at all. That calling would generally mean another leopard, though. Romit, if Hukamuri is here, I would be very surprised. We are way away from his territory. We're on the opposite side. We have seen Hukamuri come here, but that was back when Tingana was sick and wasn't moving around at all. So I would be very surprised if Hukamuri was in this area. I don't know what it is, to be honest. It's just unusual behavior, and maybe we just kind of reading too much into it. Maybe he's just shy with all the hyenas around, but that little call that he's made now is not his full-blooded saw. It was almost like a little contact call, and I've heard him make that sound when he's been around Thandi and Tlalamba and Hosanna quite often, so maybe one of them's arrived. I don't know what's going on with him, but hopefully we'll kind of be able to see what happens. We'll just sit with him for the morning and kind of figure it out, and hopefully he'll kind of either join up with other leopards, or there'll be something will reveal itself as to why Tingana is not doing his normal thing. The thing about when he was eating is because he was eating until that hyena ran in. When that hyena ran in, he stopped feeding, bolted straight upright, and looked the opposite direction, and then he just jumped out and ran. And that's not Tingana's normal way of doing things. He normally kind of will get down the tree, and yes, the hyenas will chase him and he'll jog off a little bit, but then he'll find a comfy spot and just go flat and sleep there. Whereas he's walked a long way from that carcass now. We probably, I would say, a good 200 meters from the carcass, and he kind of keeps it's quite funny. There's a stickler competing with Tingana for noise. You can see it in the background there, a little white tail. He kind of... Yes, I feel like Tingana will win. Although Tingana glanced off at it to say, hello, hang on, this is my show. I'm trying to make a noise. You can't make a noise at the same time. But he's now calling again. You see, he's looking over his shoulder back. This is the direction where he's looking now, is where the kill is at the moment. But that sawing that he's doing is interesting. I suppose there is a scent of another male leopard around, so that he would be sawing would kind of tell other male leopards that he's here. But don't know, he just looks a bit more kind of twitchy than normal, doesn't he? He's normally a bit of a dopey fella at times, but today he looks a little bit more serious and a bit more kind of what's going on. Mom, you say Tingana's soaring sounds like a pig. Well, I don't think Tingana will be too impressed to hear that. I think he's probably thinking to himself, I do not sound anything like a pig. This is a majestic soar of a big cat. Excuse me, and thank you very much. No, I suppose it does have a little bit of a piggish sound to it, but it's definitely, I suppose, the best way that a leopard can communicate. And I love the sound of a soar. It's one of those sounds that, you know, it's not quite as impressive as a lion roar in terms of the amount of sound that's produced, but for me it always just makes me super excited, because it's either a good omen, there's something around and you can try and find a leopard, or you're sitting with one, and then that's a very good thing too. So I absolutely love a leopard call. There's something about it, and you, especially in areas where you know leopards are shy, it's often an indication that leopards are there. If you hear them sawing, then you can kind of know that they're around. But what have you seen, Tingana? I am looking everywhere to try and see if I can find something here that's kind of following him or moving around here, and I can't see a single thing. I'm looking back towards the kill, don't see anything there, but something is definitely keeping him very twitchy. Carol, no, not necessarily. I mean, he would soar to try and establish himself and to make sure everybody knows this is his territory. Remember that there was another leopard here last night. It definitely wasn't Tingana. It definitely wasn't Tingana that was here last night at all. And so this sawing that we're hearing now could just be to reaffirm to that male that was here, listen, buddy, this is my area, don't come here. This is where I am dominant, this is where I patrol, stay out and stay away. I'm not hearing any response call, so if it was another male leopard, you would hear who was challenging him, you would hear it sawing back, it wouldn't stay quiet. So this is more him just kind of sending a statement. Like I say, if it was lions around, I don't think he would be making a noise. I think he'd be trying to get away and stay as quiet as possible and just kind of wait for the lions to pass and then go back to his kill. So it's an interesting kind of display of behavior. Honestly, you have no idea why he's being the way he's being this morning. The sawing I can understand. Like I said, that's, if another leopard was around, he's going to make a lot of noise about it, and he's going to be very irritable about the fact that another leopard was in his territory. So I understand that sawing, but the way he moved away from his kill intrigues me. Maybe he just saw something that he wasn't sure about. Either way, does he not look absolutely fantastic when you see him like that? His neck is monstrous, his head is looking big, and he's looking a very different picture to what we saw 8 months ago at the beginning of this year. It really is amazing, the recovery of this leopard, and just goes to show that looking after these animals, they can look after themselves. So sometimes when we want to interfere, it actually is not necessary, as these guys will come right on their own accord. Right, now let's send you back across to Steve in the Mara. I'm not 100% sure what he's busy with. I did hear Emma say something, but I wasn't really paying too much attention because I was busy looking at how good Tingana looks, and so I got distracted. But I'm pretty sure whatever it is will be good, and hopefully we'll be able to show you something entertaining.
It's really coming up on both of our noses. There's just a gorgeous scene unfolding. We haven't yet found... I must apologize, we're actually looking for Kekenya, not Naratoy. I don't know if I'd be able to tell the difference between the two if I found them, but we will learn. We will learn. It's just an abundance of animals on the plains here. Lots and lots of Thompson's gazelles with a couple of youngsters, so prime food for her. Also a number of young wildebeest and the odd zebra, a young zebra that is. So we keep scanning. We seem to be the only vehicle out in this open expanse, which makes it feel quite special after yesterday with so many vehicles surrounding us at any given time. It feels like a completely different world. Off the beaten track, you would call it. Definitely found some of my favorite parts. As far as the eye can see, folks, just absolutely stunning wilderness. For those of you who have not yet been up to this part of the world, you need to make a plan. Hello, Anna Marie. Yeah, a lot of herbivores practice osteophagy. Those of you who don't know what osteophagy means, it's the eating of bones to supplement a diet. There are lots of bones scattered around the landscape, and it's generally something you find, I mean, speaking from my experience down in South Africa, it's definitely something you find sort of later into the year, in the winter months, when certain minerals, magnesium, calcium are lacking in the animal's diet, especially for pregnant females. And they will often eat bones to supplement that part of their diet. I haven't seen it up here yet, but I'm sure something like that will happen. But there's still an abundance of very good grazing. And it's only something I've really witnessed in South Africa to do with browsing animals. So kudu, giraffe. I haven't really seen too many other animals practicing it. Porcupine do. I've never seen a wildebeest doing it. Another practice is geophagy, when animals eat rock or soil to supplement nutrients directly from the ground rather than going through the secondary phase of taking it from the plant. The wind has picked up. It is a little bit crazy. It doesn't seem to have affected the animals' behavior too much. Not like yesterday, we had them bunching and herding together. They are nicely spread out across the landscape, and clearly no smell of any predators on the horizon. But for the larger prey animals here, they feel quite safe in the fact that no lions are going to be able to sneak up on them in this very short grass area. We are constantly scanning. I'm putting my binoculars to good use today. See the perfect adaptation of the long neck of the wildebeest and the zebra to be able to feed down nice and low like that. Don't forget, folks, this is an interactive game drive safari. We'd love to hear from you, even if it's just a comment, or drop questions in #SafariLive, or drop them on the YouTube stream. We can see that the size comparisons of the Thompson's gazelles to the wildebeest there, and some beautiful light on that zebra. Okay, well, while we continue on our search up here for Kenya, let's go back down to Taylor and the Bushwalk team.
Hello again, everybody. So we haven't found anything just yet. I need to empty my shoes because we've been walking in the Mulwati and they're so full of sand. It's quite uncomfortable. So I'm just going to very quickly empty them. Both of my shoes. You can watch me do that. Sorry, Herbie's trying to tell me something, but I can't understand what he's saying. Let me quickly just do this. Sorry, everybody. Otherwise, it's the most uncomfortable feeling, like walking with rocks in your shoes, and the sand is not particularly fine. It's not like the sand on the beaches of Watamu that squeaks. It's so fine and so beautiful. The stuff is not particularly pleasant to have in your shoes. I'm also trying to do my balancing skills here. Okay, let's carry on. So we're kind of in the area where Hosana was last seen. So we're now going to try and locate him. I'll be surprised if he's still hanging around here. I think he would have been annoyed and probably moved off last night. But it's hard to kind of say. The hyenas are everywhere. I'm surprised at Hosana's behavior, that he kind of keeps hanging around, or that he hasn't learned to take his food up a tree as soon as he's killed it, with all the hyenas that are hanging around at the moment. It surprises me, but that's just going to keep happening to him until he learns that lesson, that even though he's exhausted, he needs to put something up in the tree as quick as he can, otherwise the hyenas are going to take it. They're so responsive to any kind of sound that if they do hear a distress call or anything like that, they'll come charging on in to investigate. I mean, we've seen it time and time again, and pretty much at every leopard sighting there's either been one hyena or a couple of hyenas, especially if they've got a kill around. So they're relying big time on the big cats and sort of scavenging from them. So that's quite... it's not nice. It's good for the hyenas. It's not great for Hosanna, however. But hopefully he will learn that lesson. He doesn't even need to take it up particularly high. He just needs to get it a meter and a half, 2 meters off the ground. I don't know what Herbie... Oh, there's a leopard. It's probably Hosanna. But he's going away. He's not particularly happy with us on foot. You see him. He's now listening to the squirrels. They're all shouting at him. But he's exceptionally far away. He's not impressed. I think it's Hosanna. It looked like him, just his shape. Off he goes. We're not going to push him. We're not going to follow him because he's shown us that he is unhappy with us and that he's still around. I'm surprised he's still around here. Off he goes. So that's great. So now we can call if Tristan wants to come this side or if he's going to stick with Tingana. I'm not sure. But like I said, we're not going to go chasing after him. The idea of a bushwalk is to find the animal, if that's what you're doing, locate them, but then there's no need to keep hanging around and pushing them further and further away. We know Hosanna is fine with people on foot, so when he does slink away like that, it's best just to kind of leave him. But that was nice. At least we got a view. We've obviously got the vantage point. We're up here. I think he must have just been laying down. I think he was probably laying in the same spot that he was left yesterday afternoon, which I'm surprised about. I thought he would have moved off. Maybe he thought he was going to scavenge something back from the hyenas, but I knew that was never going to happen. There's too many of them, and they eat so quickly. Cool, well, that was nice. So our job is done now on bushwalk. We have completed. Right, off we go to Tristan, who's got Hosanna's father. Let's see what he's up to.
We do have Hosanna's father, and he's still wide-eyed, and you can see he's got his tail up. Something is really kind of making him twitch this morning. What it is, I'm not quite sure. He seems as though he really is kind of annoyed by things that are going on around him, and I'm not surprised, to be honest. I suppose there's been another male in his territory, which never bodes well for a leopard. They don't like when other males are around, and it seems as though he's kind of just done a big loop around Buffelshoek Dam as he's tried to kind of work out what's going on around here. Now he's coming down, hopefully, towards the water, so hopefully we're going to see him kind of coming to have a bit of a drink. That's the idea anyway. We're going to try and check it out and see. Now hopefully he drinks in the right place. If he doesn't drink in a nice spot, it's not going to be very pleasant at all. Have I noticed a difference in between leopards? Puma, no. I mean, maybe, I suppose. Maybe some leopards are a little bit more intelligent than others. Not really, though. They all seem to be pretty smart creatures. I know that some people don't think that they are that intelligent. Now, he's definitely going to go and drink. It's just a matter of where is he going to drink and how is he going to drink. He's just kind of sniffing about now and scent marking. And he's making his way back towards the kill. So he's done this monstrous loop all the way around here, being very circumspect as he's gone. Just trying to kind of double check, and this is about the 4th time that he's been to the toilet since we've been following him. So now he's heading back towards the kill itself. So we'll see where he's going to go. Tingana, what's going on this morning, boy? I wonder if maybe was just a bit nervous of this other leopard in case it could be one that he needs to be a bit careful of. I don't know really what the case may be, but he's definitely was concerned with something. He's done a massive, like I say, loop around this kill, and he's looked the whole time. He's sawed, he's scent marked. Maybe it's just Mfokazi's scent has made him a little bit wary. Now, where are you going to go, Tingana? Just want to see if we can just bypass quickly and try and get in front of him so that we can actually see his kind of face. Now you see he's turned and he's going away the opposite way. Where are you going, Tingana? What have you seen that is scaring you? What is that there? Is that a hyena? Or is that another leopard? Straight across there. You see on the other side is a hyena that's sleeping there. Okay. So it is a hyena. Now he is going to drink, I think. Look at that light. Is that not beautiful? That is as epic as you could ever get. Big, dry, kind of open pan area and water. Now where... Fern, so you say you think his tail says he's annoyed? I don't know what it is with him. He's going to drink, so I just want to try and get around him a little bit, because we should get him pretty front on if we just kind of hustle around a little bit. Sorry, Viam, I know it's bouncy, but this should work. I think if he's going to drink where I think he's going to drink. No, he's decided he's not going to drink, which is interesting. He went right to the water's edge and then stopped. Are you going to drink on this side? Of course you are. Against the light. Wonderful. Tingy, what are you doing? I'm very surprised by the fact that he's not drinking. So yes, Rena, it is a bird that you can hear. You can hear a blacksmith lapwing going tick 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 tick. Seriously, Tingana? Alright, let's go the other way. So Tingana has just done a royal problem to us. So he's literally gone from one side where I thought he would drink, now to the other side, but we still get him, don't worry. It's okay. He's drinking pretty much where we kind of actually want him to be drinking, to be honest. He's kind of drinking on this side where we can get decent light and still get him kind of sitting and drinking as well. Hold on, Vildi, I'm just going to get us a little lower. There we go. So, there we go. Chris, undoubtedly he smells another leopard, that's for sure. He's definitely smelling another individual in this area, and that's why he's a little bit kind of annoyed by what's going on. And I don't think he's too impressed that maybe there was another leopard that was around, and so he's kind of at this stage, I think, just checking up on what's going on, making sure that he just checks and is not caught out by maybe a bigger, larger male. You never know. There might be a male that decides to kind of come into this area that is a little bit kind of bigger than what he is, and if he's an unknown male around the area and he doesn't recognize his scent, it's always better to err on the side of caution and just to make sure you know who you're dealing with before you decide to just kind of engage in a massive dispute. So, you know, that's probably why he's being a little bit kind of more cautious of what's going on. But I just don't understand it, because he's run the same leopard off twice now. I mean, he's managed to get that kill. So, I don't know, his behavior is odd to me today. I don't quite know why he's been the way that he has. So, I'll just have to see. I'll figure it out eventually. Maybe there's something will give it away and we'll be able to kind of pick up exactly why he's been the way that he has been today. Sammy Jane, you say you think Tingana deserves bottled water. Well, I mean, Sammy Jane, I suppose he could deserve bottled water. He's obviously a duke, and so if you are a duke, then, well, you do deserve these things. So I would say maybe you're right. Maybe we should get him some bottled water and he can have a really good drink. But he certainly is a thirsty boy, and this is typical. There's a hardy-dar that's making noise. So we've got a blacksmith lapwing and a hardy-dar that are both not impressed by Tingana's presence at the moment. Isn't that beautiful? I think it's very, very beautiful. I think we're being fortunate that we're getting to watch a leopard drinking in this beautiful kind of morning light. Very, very cool. Tingana, you're spoiling us, boy. I think he's almost done now. Maybe he's getting annoyed with that blacksmith lapwing that's constantly... Right, now Tingana is going to pretty much wrap up here. I don't think he's going to be drinking for much longer. And so while he does wrap up and decides to kind of move on and maybe move back to his carcass, send you back to Steve and see what he's been up to and how the Mara is treating him this morning.
Well, thank you, Tristan. We were talking about eland before, and, well, we found ourselves another herd, and there you can easily see the big male that I was talking about, how blue they go, and that enormous dewlap on the front of the throat there. For what purpose it serves, I have absolutely no idea when it comes to big male eland, but you can see how much darker he is in color to the females, and his horns are also much shorter but stockier because they use it for fighting, and they can get up to almost a metric ton, so around 2,000 pounds or so. And when they fight, it is quite something to behold. Two big male eland bulls having a go. Well, there's nothing quite like it in the African wilderness. I suppose elephants and rhinos fighting can top the scales, but from an antelope point of view, there's no more power out there. It is a huge animal, Pisces, and could you believe it, at a standing start, they can jump a 3-meter fence. So at the stand, they can jump directly up and over 3 meters. It's quite something. Quite something. And there we have the elephants moving through the plains. The zebra's going one way, elephant the other way. So very interesting. Back on the topic of eland, and I don't know if any of you viewers out there know it. I don't really get to talk about them due to the fact that we never see them down in Djuma. But they are highly revered by the San Bushman people. An eland obviously provides an enormous amount of meat. If back in the day the Khoisan people living off the land happened to come across an eland, and they were able to dart one and poison it, and then obviously get the meat. The meat of a big eland bull would feed more than one family. So they're actually a sacred animal in the San Bushman culture. And if you ever look at any Bushman paintings all over Africa, you'll find that the eland is revered. It's one of the #1 painted animals in their pictures, and they highly respected them. And the San as a culture, the San Khoisan culture is a very respectful. You know, they didn't just kill things. Everything had a place, everything had a purpose. And one of the reasons the eland was so well looked after or well loved, he's having a little bit of a enjoyment there. He can smell a lady in estrus, it seems. Well, was the fact that the eland has got a lot of fat on them. From venison, they've got quite a bit of fat, and they love fat. Fat is one of the things that living out in the wilderness, especially with only game meat, you don't get a lot of. So eland are probably one of the fattiest, or maybe it's the dewlap of the male that's got the fat. I'm not 100% sure, but they would gorge themselves in the fat of eland. And the skins, I think they would use as well. Very useful hides. Yeah, Courtney, is very likely it could be a fat reserve. Not 100% sure really, but I mean it just sort of waggles out there, you know. Maybe it's a good indication to another male of a male size. We see it in leopards, you know. Dewlap is something that they develop with age and with experience, and it's definitely possibly used in protecting the neck when they fight, or adding some strength in the neck. Eland, it just looks like this big piece of fat just hanging there. But incredible the size difference between the male and the female. The female's only getting up to about 400 or 500 kilograms. So 1,000 pounds or so, somewhere around there. But probably, if you had to see it, probably my favorite antelope species. Kendall, that is a very good question. I have no idea why some are curved and one are straight. The Tragelaphus, so back to the eland, if you will. The Tragelaphus species, meaning the spiral horned species, the males all compete with each other. And in the fact of the eland is the only Tragelaphus where the female has horns, and that's to do with the open landscape, the fact that they will defend their youngsters against predators. And an eland cow is quite a formidable adversary for a lion. For a cheetah wouldn't even attempt an eland cow. They're too big. But why they are spiraled and why others are straight, it's very, very hard to understand, really. It's just probably a family way. It's the way it's worked. You know, when you fight a samurai fights a samurai with a samurai sword, and you know, the weapon of choice that you fight against your opponent needs to be quite similar so as to protect yourself and also potentially inflict damage. If one eland had straight horns and one had really spiraled horns, well, it would just lead to a different kind of warfare, wouldn't it? So why exactly each animal species or antelope species has evolved different structures to the horn, I actually have no idea. I wonder if anyone out there has any idea why they've evolved different strategies. I mean, there's animals in the world that have evolved antlers that come and go with the season, so it's just really an evolutionary sort of thing. And you look at the reindeer or a moose's antlers, in comparison to each other, they're very different, and they're just very, very strange, in fact, but all very, very cool nonetheless. Why indeed? A good question, I must say. I have seen kudu get their horns caught together before. Pippin, the question you're asking is, why do the knees click? Well, there's a couple of people who suggest the knees click. There's a couple of people that suggest that the hoof itself clicks, because the eland has got a very similar sort of track to that of a buffalo, except the inner part of the track is in fact smaller than the outer part of the hoof. So when they move, the weight of the eland pushing down, they believe, opens the hoof, and then as it lifts up, it clicks back again. So there's the clicking of the hoof, or there's the clicking of the knee. I think it's the hoof. Some people think it's the knee. You can hear it when they walk. I've demonstrated it with an eland that was killed by lions on the hoof, and you can push it down, and you can actually see how the hoof comes back up and sort of hits itself on the inside towards the back, where the hoofs kind of touch again. So they're not symmetrical, not like the nyalas and kudu, which are very symmetrical. The eland has got a lot more sort of weight distribution to the outer toe of the hoof than the inner toe. So it's possible that the weight that is pushed down by the animal is what clicks it. But then, like I said, some people will argue it is the knee. Each to their own. I don't know if there's actually been any conclusive proof to say exactly what it is, and maybe it's also got to do with the fact that the eland was once the size of a bushbuck and has grown and grown and grown to move out into the African landscape, into the savannas, just like the other animals have grown. Elephants were the size of warthogs, and eland were the size of, the same, bushbuck and duiker. And as the landscapes opened and the savanna became more abundant, more 200% or 200 times more animal species occur on the savannas than ever occurred in forests, mammal species that is, and that's to do with the different habitats that were created and the abundance of grazing and the mixed feeder sort of family orientation. So I think a lot of it's got to do with just evolution and the fact that the animal has outgrown its sort of capacity of a body, and it leads to what could be arthritis in the knee, or just a hoof that doesn't quite stand on the ground as well as their other family members do. Because all the other tragolaphids are very silent in their movement, but the eland, when they come walking past, you can clearly hear that as something clicks. Okay, well, we're going to move on, still in search for Kikenya, and let's go back to Tristan, who is still with the Duke.
Well, we're trying to follow the Duke. The Duke's taking us into an impossible area at the moment, so we're just trying to figure out how to do this. But we seem like we're making progress, at least. He's at least laid down for us, which is going to make life easier. But I'm pretty jealous of Steve and his eland. I love eland, and that was one cool thing about the Mara, except that I actually didn't see that many while I was there. Apparently what happens is during the wet season, they actually don't see too many of them. It's only really during the dry season that they really come up onto the escarpment and you really get to see a lot of them. Now this is probably the best we're going to manage is there. Look at the size of his belly. It is monstrous at the moment. So Tingana has got a huge tummy, and you can see he's found himself a little shady spot to lie down in. But I'm very surprised with his behavior. He's abandoned that carcass. We're far now. We've come south of the dam and we've gone into this drainage section. And so I don't know, maybe he picked up a sound for Thandi and Kalamba. Maybe there's something that has triggered him to decide this is where I want to be and this is what I want to do. But it really is quite interesting that he's kind of abandoned that carcass. It's the first time for me to see Tingana abandon something that has still got meat on it. I've never really known him to give up any food source whatsoever, and there was still a fair chunk there. I mean, it's not like it was huge amounts, but definitely still at least some bit of meat that he could have at least fed on. So I'm, like I say, quite intrigued by the way that he's gone about his morning. James, he has a monstrous food baby. It's definitely a very big one, and I'm not going to lie, I really don't want to be around when it gets delivered, to be honest, because when that food baby gets delivered, it's going to fill the air with a pungent aroma of rotten flesh, and probably be a combination of warthog and impala that has rotted over the course of a week in hot weather. So it will be a delightful smell. It will come out and it will permeate the air and probably will singe the nostrils as it goes into your lungs and probably half chokes you to death. So hopefully we will not be around when his food baby is born and it is released upon the world. And hopefully when he does release his food baby, the sun will be shining very strongly, and it will dry up said food baby very quickly, and none of us will have to suffer the wrath of the noxious gas that will come out with that food baby. So sorry, Tingana, we are talking about you. He doesn't seem to care at all. He doesn't seem to worry at all that he's going to poison the earth with his vileness that will come out of there. But I suppose it's one of those things. They're not actually not as bad as lions. I find lions worse. Lions somehow can just produce the most vile smelling foulness that ever existed out of their rear ends, and it really can be quite something to be around a lion carcass, particularly during that drought period. I don't know what it was with the buffalo, that maybe it was because it was hot and dry, I don't know, but during that period when we had all those buffalo dying, the smell that was coming out of those lions was just something else. And so I'm glad that that's over and that we're not smelling it nearly as much. The other thing that also stinks quite a bit is wild dog dung. That can also have a delightful aroma to it. Really is quite something, and something that you should all experience in your lives, because you'll never smell anything again. Right. Yes, let's rather change topic and rather go on to things that are far more kind of cleaner and happier thoughts and happier things. And well, Taylor McCurdy, I suppose, embodies happiness, and so let's send you across to her and see what she's up to now that she's left that area of Hosanna.
Well, we've arrived at what is left of Treehouse Dam. As you can see, there's really only a puddle of water down here at the moment, and we're very desperate, so we're looking at some turtle doves that are having a drink of water at the moment. There's a pair of them. Oh no, there they go. Off they fly. There goes our content. That's wonderful. And so yeah, so there's some birds that came down for a drink of water, and now there's absolutely nothing around Treehouse Dam. It is very quiet out here. It's also quite hot, and the wind is starting to pick up, which I suppose is normal. We kind of have that every single day. So yeah, we've been looking for things to talk about, but unfortunately there really isn't much out here at the moment. So we're kind of just bumbling, taking it easy, having a look around. Yep, Daniel, it's only going to get worse. Dire is definitely a good word to describe what we're looking at. So I thought I saw something running in the bushes, but there isn't. There were some impala down here, but they got a fright when we stepped up onto the dam wall and then ran away. So yeah, so now we're just going to take it slow until we get home. They've virtually no insects at the moment. Rummet, they've probably found a few of them might still be in pupas, still developing. Maybe some of the moths have still got their larvae underneath and in the soil and things like that, because they typically only want to hatch when there's, I suppose, food around. At the moment, there's no food at all for them. So a lot of the insects will go dormant, or like I said, if their eggs were laid in just at the end of the rainy season. And then now, of course, like I said, they could just be somewhere hiding away waiting for the conditions to get better. But no, you virtually don't even see any butterflies at this time of the year. So yeah, so there really isn't much, unfortunately. So let us carry on this way on this very exciting bushwalk. It's wonderful. It's really wonderful. I'd much prefer to be in a vehicle right now because we could be watching Hosanna. Anyways, I'm envious of Tristan today because he's spending the whole morning with a leopard. And maybe Tingana's happy that Tristan's spending the day with him.
Well, I would hope he is. I wouldn't want to offend him. Although I suppose I've just told him that he's got a foul-smelling inside, so maybe he's not so happy that I'm spending time with him. He certainly doesn't look like he cares, does he? He's kind of got his tongue hanging out, a la Hooker Murray style. Hosanna, we see, does it every now and then as well. So he is currently blapping, is what apparently the term is for this. Is a cat blaps when its tongue is out like that, and so he is blapping and panting at the same time. So he is doing a multitask, and who says males can't multitask? There we go. He is doing two things at once. Proven. But yes, it has been nice to follow Tingana all morning. I have thoroughly enjoyed my morning with Tingana. Viam and I were just saying that it is a very good morning when you get to follow Tingana and he moves around, and we've had it all really from him. We've had him up a tree, we've had him interact with hyenas, we've had him feeding, we've had him sawing, we've had him grooming, and we had him drinking, and now we've got him. Can be. I mean, you look at that, that is definitely sausage. That is not anything else but a sausage with 4 legs. And I always think of one of those little mini sausages with 4 toothpicks and a 5th toothpick for a tail shoved into it and a little 2 ears on it. So one day I'm going to actually, in fact, I think this is a challenge for Taylor and I. We're going to try and see if we can make Hosanna and Tingana as out of sausages. So we're going to try and see what the best sausage will win, and we'll see who can do the best sausage family. So Taylor has to do her renditions and I'll do mine, and we'll see how likely or this resemblance that it is to our 2 male leopards that constantly seem to be rounder than they are anything else. So I think that's a good challenge to do. Yes, we'll have to do a good craft challenge. Tandi also is a very good sausage. That's why I said it's a sausage family. So you have to do 4 sausages. You have to do Hosanna and Tingana. They sausages, the main sausages, and then we can do a little Kalamba and Tandi. Although Kalamba never looks sausage-like like Tandi. Tandi can also get very round, particularly when she's pregnant. She gets monstrous and seems to just still be able to fit as much food in, which is quite amazing to me. But we'll see how it goes. Look at that. He looks like a pregnant zebra as he's walking away. He's got this wide kind of body that is swinging from side to side. Tingana, have I upset you? That's him saying, who do you think you're calling a pregnant zebra? I'm a hardcore cat. Anyway, I think we've irritated him enough, and so he's wandering off now. I don't think that, unfortunately, we're going to be able to follow him any further. Where he's walking is a disaster of tamburtis. So, Nana, how long will the kill last him before he needs to hunt again? Knowing Tingana, 5 minutes, because he's always looking for food. But generally, no, it should last him easily 2-3 days with a stomach like that until he'll be desperately hungry. But normally, it's about, kind of a day or two. Oof, that is it. That's Tingana down for the day. One last saw, and he has now flopped down and has decided this is where he is going to sleep. But yes, I mean, this could easily sustain him, like I say, really sustain him for probably over a week, and then he'd be kind of emaciated, but he'd probably start feeling hungry already by tomorrow afternoon into the evening and then the following day. So, while the going's good and it's winter and things are around and food is more easily available, it's better for him to start kind of to eat as much as he can. And remember that it's the more he eats and the stronger he is, that means the more he's going to be able to patrol his territory and protect it. Good. Tingana, like I say, has gone into a thicket where we're not going to be able to get to. He also wants to nap now, and he's given us such a good show this morning, so I think we're probably going to leave him here. We'll go and just check back at the carcass, see if maybe something's come in since we've been gone. And while we do that, let's send you back across to Steve in the Mara and see if he's left New Zealand, where he's going to go to next, and hopefully it'll be something nice to show you.
Well, yes, thank you. We've moved off the Eland was still having a bit of fun, almost a little bit of Barry White music going on in the background as he was getting interested in that female, but she wasn't having any of it. We are still looking. We found a huge herd, a huge flock of vultures landing quite far into the block, but the rules here is you can only go off-road if there's a confirmed sighting of a cat. And we've moved in and out of the road up and down to try to see what was going on. There's about 60 odd vultures all going absolutely crazy, so looks like they're on the kill and fighting over it. But that sometimes can be, you know, a cheetah could make a kill and then moves off. As soon as the vultures arrive, cheetah will often just leave, because vultures, just like they attract our attention, they attract the attention of larger carnivores such as hyena and the lion. So we're still having a look. It is a very vast landscape, and we have not seen a single vehicle since we came off the main road probably an hour, 2 hours ago. So quite amazed at how vast this place is. And a cheetah could be anywhere. What have you got there, James? Or is that a cough? James has got his dust mask on. He looks like he's about to conduct a surgical operation. Hello, Lily. Best jumpers. Well, Kuru and Eland are incredible jumpers. I've never seen an Nyala jump. They look very awkward when they run, let alone jump. But I'm sure they can. Impala are incredible jumpers. But when you talk about gazelle, what we've got over here, we've got a couple of gazelle just off our right. Thompson's gazelle. I've never seen them do it, but gazelle, apparently, most gazelle. Ooh, I just need to just straighten up there. A little bit unlevel on the side of the road here. Gazelle in the name of springbok. Springbok are a form of gazelle, and they jump. The name springbok comes from the fact that they jump up and down, not really going very fast, but just very high, what we call pronking, which elevates them into the sky and basically tells the cheetah, hey, you don't come for me. I am absolutely physically much too strong for you to catch. But I've never seen a Thompson's gazelle do it. I believe most gazelle do what we call pronking, but I haven't seen it yet out here. The springbok most certainly do. There's a few of them out here. The Tommies enjoying the nice burnt grasslands. And the game has definitely gotten a little bit sort of less onto this side. Francesca, I'm not aware of the impala migrating up here. I think they do stay put. It's possible that a few move across, but it's nothing to the extent of what we see with the other animals. The zebra and the wildebeest, of course, and then you get some topi, and I think there's another species as well that makes a movement. I'm trying to remember what they are. I haven't seen enormous numbers of them. Let me have a quick little look in my notes, but no, I'm not aware of impala migrating. They tend to be quite sedentary, as it were. That's why in the Kruger National Park they've become quite a problem, because they don't leave. They stay in one area and they'll just keep eating it and eating it and eating it. Not that it's a huge problem up here, because we don't get them in the same sort of numbers down in South Africa, but most certainly impala can be a destructive force. Most people I know in South Africa call them red goats, because they do feed on everything. Anything that's small in the vegetation that comes through, well, impala will eat it. And I've said this before a few times, most people look at elephants and go, how destructive are the elephants? They just destroy everything. But in fact, no one ever looks at the small mixed feeders, namely impala, that actually have the potential to eliminate the recruitment of trees that are coming through. And that is one of the reasons why there are not too many trees in the Mara, not specifically from impala itself. The fire plays a huge role, but herbivores moving through here, namely impala, would feed on any small little leaf material that came through in the form of a tree or a plant. The eland were doing quite similar stuff there. So Thompson's gazelle will migrate. And also, actually, it says impala do migrate, as well as Grant's gazelle and Konkoni, which I have never seen in my life. Some topi and even eland will move, but not necessarily all of the families or all of the groups will move. If food is in abundance, they will stay here. But we don't see the same sorts of numbers of impala as we do with the other. Ooh, sorry, Emma, I'm going to move forward here because your comms are coming through very badly there. Sorry about the start there, James. Sorry, Emma, can you repeat that? You broke up quite badly. Captain Dultron, well, how they got the name Thompson's gazelle, probably named after a naturalist by the name of Thompson, I'm going to guess, just like Grant's also named after that. So generally when you find a name a name like that, sort of like a surname, generally it was someone who discovered them. Like Darwin, as an explorer, so to speak, the Darwins, Finches, people are often rewarded for finding the sample. Not necessarily being the naturalist, but maybe the person who found the sample and being rewarded. And I'm sure if I have a look in the species name, we're probably going to find that it is named Thomsonii or something like that. Let me just find it for you. Gazelle, Thompson's gazelle, 178. Give me 1 second, sorry. Thompson's gazelle. Gazelle Thomsonii, so most certainly named after probably someone by the name of Thompson. I don't know who he is, and I can guarantee you that the Grant's gazelle is going to be called Gazella grantii. Indeed it is. So that is how these things come about. It's all about how, for example, these zebra here, now called plain zebra, used to be called Burchell zebra. They were named after a gentleman by the name of Burchell. Same as some of the starlings we find in South Africa called the Burchell starling. He was one of the first people to discover them, and hence the name was applied to him. Sometimes it's given to the person who discovered them, sometimes it's given to something specific about their nature or their body posturing or how they behave, but quite often it's given to the individual naturalist, because, you know, back in the day, the naturalists, all of them were men, because women weren't allowed to do those things back in the day. A lot of ego, and well, I would like to put my name in history, and this animal forever today will be named after me. But when we come to Africa and you find out these names actually, the locals, well, they're not named at all after Burchell. They are called local names. I don't know all the names up here. But in South Africa, Mangwa would be the name for zebra, and that's got nothing to do with Burchell himself. And a lot of the names named by African people, namely bush people, would have a lot to do with the sound the animal makes. The clicking of the knees, for example, or the clicking of the hoof, or the noise that they make coming out of their mouth. A lot of that's got to do with how these animals are named, because back in the day the sand bushmen would have communicated with each other through posturing and through sounds and clicks. And how do you name an animal that you can't describe through a click? Well, you have to mimic the sound. So as it was, Western world came into Africa, and we've just put a name and a label on everything. But I have no idea who Thompson was. Probably quite a long time ago, back in colonial Kenya. Very good. On we go. Beautiful scenes unfolding all over the place. So we don't have migrating impala at the moment, but Taylor's got some impala on foot.
We do, and we've also got a big zebra that's just popped out of the bushes too. Finally, some life out here on Djuma. So a rather large gathering of the impala, and then one zebra by itself. Look how they're very, very nervous. You can see how windy it is now. Look at all that dust being kicked up. So we haven't made any effort to try and hide away. Otherwise they would probably just sprint away from us. So I'm basically just standing out in the open, just watching these guys. But they won't stay here for very long because I don't think that they trust us too much on a windy day like today. So they're just moving into the thicket where they'll probably feel a little bit more comfortable than with it being a little bit more sheltered in there. That was nice. Oh, there's one last. They're the last ones going. Maybe they're going to do big jumps. Oh, there's more. Maybe someone will do an enormous leap and show us how truly athletic impala can be. No, just trotting along the road. Oh, here comes the next group. Sure, it's lots of them. I suppose they're not going to waste their energy unnecessarily by doing big leaps and bounds. They're very slowly crossing the road now. Some of them haven't even looked towards us. Those two have stopped now. 3, they've acknowledged us. But I think even with the way that I'm talking, I'm basically downwind of these impala. So if we were hiding behind a tree, I don't even think they would have noticed that we were here. I think that, no, there's still more and more impala just streaming out. Not many more now. That must have been quite a big group, maybe about 50 of them. And a mixture of big rams, some of the younger boys, and then of course all the ewes and their offspring from last year. Although they're all starting to look quite round now. They are getting, it's only a few months away before the impala start dropping the lambs, and then that's an awesome time in the bush. They're so precious. It is wandering iPhone. It's very fun to see that happen, but the chances of you actually seeing them leaping and bounding is actually not very often at all. It only happens just every now and then if you're lucky enough to kind of catch it. Still one of my dream sightings is to see them leaping and bounding, silhouetted by the sun setting in the afternoon, but we haven't got that just yet. So we will keep that in that hope that we'll of course find them. Yes, Andrew, they are very good at looking left and right before they cross the road, better than I am out here. I don't seem to look left and right at all. Whew, it's getting windy. We'll probably avoid the drainage lines and things now and stick out to the open because it has got a bit windier, so we're not going to really be able to hear anything moving around in the thickets as they feed for the day. We know that's where the buffalo and the elephants like to hang around. Wonderful. Well, we're going to keep heading this way. Now, it sounds like Tristan has left Tingana. I wonder if he's going to go down, perhaps to where Hosanna was, to see what he's up to.
No, Taylor, I don't think so. I think I'm going to give Hosanna a break for a little bit, let him have a bit of a chill time. And the reason why is I wanted to check just kind of north of this kill and see why Tingana maybe got a fright. We found tracks for him for Kazi and where he went. He went east into sort of Torchwood, Buffelshoek area to that junction. So can't follow those any further. There seems to be some wildebeest, I think, up in front. Yes, there are wildebeest in front, judging by the tracks on the road here. And, oh wait, what's that? Let's have a look here quickly. I just want to see what could have caused him to have been so kind of shy at one point. Just hyena tracks. Okay, so it's very shy wildebeest by the looks of things. What is wrong with everybody this morning? Everybody's running around like there is things about to eat them. There's a tractor coming, that's why. That makes sense. So there's a big tractor that's coming down the road in the distance there, and that's probably why the wildebeest are a little bit shy. Yes, it's the Great Migration with the tractor in the background. Yes, standoff between wildebeest and tractor. Here we go. Who will win? I feel like the tractor. Yes, the wildebeest has decided tractor is far more kind of big and scary, and it's a big red tractor. Actually, it reminds me of that saying, red lorry, yellow lorry, and you just have to say it as fast as you can to see how many times you can say it. Now, this wildebeest is not sure whether it should cross the road because this is all too scary and daunting as the red tractor comes along the road. Will it cross? will it not? Now, let's have a look. It should cross. Or is it going to be too scared because the tractor is coming? Yes, I know, Emma, the anticipation, it's quite something. It's hard to actually control oneself when waiting for a wildebeest to cross in front of a tractor. Is it going to do the typical stupid wildebeest move and run across as the tractor gets here? Probably is going to, isn't it? A wildebeest is not a clever animal at the best of times, and so it will probably wait until the last second before it runs across the road. Is it going to do it? It looks like it wants to. Yes, here we go. Look. What did I tell you? Wildebeest, you are not clever, are you? You could have walked across the road. Instead, you've now wasted excess energy by running around. Not clever. Anyway, right, I'm going to move out of the way of the tractor before I get squashed and make sure that I'm not like a wildebeest and stupid and wait until the last second. And so while I do that, then let's send you back across to Steve in the Mara, who seems to be a happy lad that he's that side of the world.
If I was a cheetah, where would I be? I mean, this is the ideal area. We're just going to turn to the right here and just have a look. The game density has decreased quite a lot. There's just a couple of small little mounds, and there's a couple of individually spread out Thompson's gazelle. So this is the kind of area that you'd think if a cheetah would like to be successful, she would be hanging out in. Bear in mind, folks, cheetah move in open areas like this where they can see very, very far, not just so that they can catch their prey, but also so they can avoid predators. So we're just keeping scanning. James is concerned that we haven't seen any vehicles. Where are all the vehicles this morning? I'm quite enjoying the fact that it's such a quiet morning and we have this area all to ourselves. The landscape is dotted with Thompson's gazelle and a couple more ostrich. Just little termite mounds for a cheetah to climb on top of and get a little bit of advantage. Not that it really needs it in this very open burnt area. And also the burnt area itself attracts all of the people. Not the people, attracts... Okay, well, there's more vultures that side. Attracts all of the herbivores. It's something that hunter-gatherers for a very long time used to do. They used to put fire into the area so as to attract animals to make it easier to hunt them, and also to open the landscape up so they weren't able to compete as badly with predators. To walk through the Mara in itself when the grass is long, you know, the lions can be a problem, so burning it made it much easier. Lynn, I'm sure there are venomous snakes up here. I actually have no doubt. In fact, I haven't found any yet, but I wouldn't be surprised to find a number of venomous snakes, namely puff adders, black mambas and certain cobra species. I haven't found any snakes yet, but I know that on a regular basis snakes were found in camp, and it's something that we are working quite hard towards, because locally in Africa, a lot of local people aren't the biggest fans of snakes, but snakes are just misunderstood and they have a very bad reputation and invariably are killed on sight by many rural people in Africa. So it's a mindset that needs to shift. So we as a community try to educate, and if there are any snakes found in and around camp, we want to be informed of them so we can go catch them and release them, so as not, you know, they're important for the eradication of certain rodents which are disease bearers. Snakes serve a very important role in the ecosystem, but by no means, because I say there's lots of venomous snakes around, do you all have to go cancelling your tickets to Africa, folks. Snakes are rarely seen, and if they are seen, well, just be aware. And as Taylor taught her mom, when you walk through the long grass, you should clap your hands. One of the funniest videos I think I've ever seen is Taylor walking through long grass with her mom, clapping her hands to scare away the snakes. A very cruel joke that she played. But I've spotted some vultures on that distant horizon now. They all come down to land. Those are signs of activity, potentially just off to your sort of 8 o'clock there, James. Those are signs of potential predators. But when you have vultures on the ground, invariably it means that the predator has moved off. But that is a situation that I hold very true in South Africa, where there are lots of trees. in and around whatever's going on over there. There's not a single tree for these vultures to climb into, so, or to perch on, so they could all be waiting for whoever it is to be finished with the kill. But invariably many animals die naturally due to maybe the harshness of the migration. It's not the easiest of things to endure for the many animals that come through the migration, namely wildebeest, zebra, all the others. Some of the youngsters might not be as strong as they should be, and nature takes care of that, and vultures are responsible for cleaning up at least 60% of the animals that are killed or that die during the migration period between the Serengeti and the Mara. So very important disposers of organic rotting meat material that would invariably fester and cause an influx of all sorts of flies. Okay, well, we can't see anything on that site with the vultures. We are going to continue on our merry way. And talking about animals that can jump, let's go over to Tristan and see what his thoughts are on the very high jumping Nyala.
Well, we actually were with some kudus, but we've left the kudus because I can hear some ellies at the dam, and the kudus and impalas and zebras are all on their way to Buffelshoek Dam. So Buffelshoek Dam is the place to be this morning. We're just going to go and sit there and wait for everybody to join us at the dam itself. The ellies are already there. They're having a good drink at the moment, and so we'll just kind of spend some time with them. They all kind of having a little bit of water on the other side. So what we're going to try and do is just get around on the dam wall, because otherwise the light is going to be horrendous. But they look like they're a little on the shy side, which is not ideal. Don't be shy, ellies. Look, we've turned off now. You can have water. I think Tingana's about to get chased. If these ellies turn southwards, they're going to go the same path that Tingana was on. But that's cool to get some ellies at the dam. And like I say, everything's kind of happening here. We've got ellies, we've got Tingana, there's going to be some zebras shortly, some kudu, some impalas. Just no Scuba Steve and Snorkel Sarah today, unfortunately. We did see actually Scuba Steve and Snorkel Sarah the other day. They were together and they were having a little late night rendezvous on the dam wall, but we interrupted them and they then had to go walk off into another area. But these ellies don't look like they want to be near us again. I wonder if it's anything to do with potentially the rain. Now there's more ellies coming, so let me just let Aubrey know, because he's about to drive off. Aubrey. There's another Schlamiendlov that's on its way from the eastern side, coming this way. So as one herd leaves, another herd arrives, basically. Well spotted, Vildy. No negative, another herd of elephants is on its way to drink, coming straight down Hippo Pools Road. So I wonder if maybe we reposition ourselves slightly now that that herd's gone, in preparation for the next herd. Let's try and just get ourselves into a better area than what we were, because those ellies should come down quite nicely. I think they're going to come down through this thicket and then come down and drink in this area, but the light is so bad from here. I want to get onto the other side. So sorry, Emma, if you can just repeat the name for me. Umu, any rain forecast? No, unfortunately not that I know of. Certainly doesn't look like any rain. There's no cloud development that we can see, and so it really isn't ideal at this stage. There come the ellies. I can see they're still running down to the water, so we're going to get ourselves into a good position where we can watch the ellies. Hopefully they're going to come and drink right in front of us, much like Tingana. This is like deja vu. We've just come from here and just positioned ourselves here for Tingana to drink, and now the ellies are also doing it. So I just want to get round this section, and then we'll be able to park ourselves just where the light is slightly better on the other side, and hopefully the ellies are going to come and have a really good drink. There they come. I can see them right behind me already. They're running towards the water. Must be thirsty at this stage. So let's just get round like this. Come on, ellies. Yes, I see you guys. Come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Alrighty then, we should be in a grand area now for elephants drinking and coming and having a really good time in Buffelshoek Dam. Look at that, that's cool. They're coming running. I think they're very, very thirsty. Tiny little baby with them. I wonder if this is the same herd we had yesterday that was around the dam. Look at that little one. Hello, little one. Oh, there's mud. No, you've gone to water. Don't go to the mud. And they went slightly more to the left. I think they want to just... Oh, poor little baby's getting kicked with mud at the moment. It probably doesn't know what to do with itself because everybody's throwing mud all over the place with trunks and feet. Look at this. This is very cool. Now I'm going to just try and move for VM because I've got the aerial in the way. Sorry, Vildi. I expected them not to go so far to the left. So I just want to try and straighten out for VM quickly. And there we go. That's better. So they're having the most epic mud wallow, and probably what we're going to find is they're going to mud wallow like this, and then once they finish with the mud wallow, then they're going to actually start to probably then have a bit of a drink. So first mud wallowing, then drinking. It does happen that way sometimes, is that these guys will do that kind of thing and will be able to sort of get themselves sorted when it comes to cooling down and getting them covered, and then they'll start to think about trying to find some sort of water to drink. But I'm actually just going to keep quiet so you can hear all the splashing. Now we are going to take this to a wider audience, so I'm just going to keep quiet for a little bit. I think. No, they're leaving, so we're not going to be able to do it. I thought they would be here for a little bit longer than what they are. They're all moving off, so we're not going to take it to a wide audience at all and do an unscheduled broadcast. But off they go. It's going to be interesting now because they're making their way towards where the kill is. So I want to see if maybe potentially they're going to walk right under the kill. They could probably get a little bit sort of grumpy if they head there and they smell the meat. That might make them a little on the kind of grumpy side. But look at the little baby, is absolutely covered in mud. It didn't do anything. It just sat in the middle there and everybody sprayed it by kicking and throwing all kinds of dirt around themselves. So very cool if you're a little baby Ellie. Now let's just turn around so we can see what their reaction is to meat. Maybe this is why Tingana moved. He knew what was coming his way. There's elephant herd after elephant herd after elephant herd that's going to come through in this general direction. No, they turned off already before they've gotten to that carcass. So the hyenas, I think, for now are okay. They're safe, and so is anybody else that may be around that potential carcass. But they're all kind of drifting off. I thought they might walk a little bit round the bend and go into the drainage line itself, but it seems as though they've decided rather just to go up and go into the thickets and start feeding. But they've done what they needed to do, cool themselves down. They obviously know it's going to be a hot afternoon, and so they've covered them, or hot day should I say, and they've covered themselves in mud. Probably find they'll do a little bit of dust bathing, so throw some dust onto that sticky mud, and then they'll be able to start feeding. And water maybe they'll get a little bit later in the day. What's also interesting is the blacksmith lapwings that have run in since the elephants have departed. So as the elephants have been in the mud, they've obviously disturbed a whole bunch of food sources, and the lapwings are going crazy. So they've kind of run in. You can see there's 3 of them that are actually going through in the fresh mud and picking off all the little bits of food that they've now been exposed by these ellies as the ellies came down to have a drink. Isn't that cool? Just goes to show you. So everyone always thinks that ellies are destructive and make a mess. Well, they provide opportunities for a lot of other animals to feed via their mess that they create, whether it be pushing down trees or exposing areas of mud that attracts other insects that these guys can then feed off. Very cool to see, though. You can see the chaos that kind of ensued. This is where Tingana drank, so luckily Tingana didn't drink now, because otherwise he would have some very muddy water to deal with. Okay. Well, that was good. We've had a wonderful day at Buffelshoek Dam. We've been very spoiled. So I don't think we'll probably move from here at all. So what we're going to do is just kind of sit and maybe wait for the zebras to come down and the kudu. And while we do that, it seems as though Steve also has a carcass on his side of the world. And I wonder what mystery he has to decode as to who killed it.
Very much, Tristan, how fantastic it is to see elephants at the muddy watering hole. A little bit more left, James. We just spotted a spotted hyena in the distance, and I'm just trying to get James on frame with it. There he goes. There it is. To the left of your screen now, James. There he goes. far off in the distance. And now we're hoping that a hyena might lead us to a cheetah. I think it's a hyena. It is indeed a hyena. It's very far away. I don't know what it's up to. I had a few animals running. Maybe indeed a cheetah has done something down there that we haven't seen, but we might be able to go in there now, because you can go off-road for cheetah and hyena. Am I right, James? Yeah. Very far off the road, though. Just got to see what it's spotted. It's moving directly towards where those last vultures we were looking at are. That wildebeest looking at him, wondering what it's up to. The wildebeest aren't afraid of hyena, especially when they're fully grown adults, unless it's a clan of hyena. They'll just look at them. And there's that beautiful loping run that the hyena can do. I'm sorry, Emma. James wants to know if I've seen something. I didn't quite copy what you said. Have I seen something? Just going to see where this hyena leads us to. Orbies. I'm not sure what an Orby is. Sorry, I'm not sure what that is, James. An Orby. Wildebeest there, completely nonplussed by the marauding hyena. He is following the vultures to that scene. Just keep following him and see exactly where he's headed to. We were just making a joke just before. The zebra and the wildebeest, they just seem to be going in all different directions, and you're like wondering, where are you going? Like, where exactly are you going? The area they're leaving is very nice and green, and they're just going to the other side for some reason. Who knows what's going on? At least with the hyena, there's method in its madness. It's going to where the vultures are, there's food there. But the other animals, the herbivores, are sort of bypassing very nice, nutrient-rich sort of areas. Oribi. James, Richard, do you want to know if I've seen an Oribi? I have not yet seen an Oribi up here. Hoping to possibly see an Oribi. Sorry, the hyena is going a little bit further behind the car, and we've got a very big sort of canopy on. Not yet. We saw some grey reedbuck, or mountain reedbuck, yesterday morning up in the mountains close to camp. But the reason why we stopped here, and maybe we can quickly catch them before they disappear, if you can try. The birds just flying here. The reason we stopped is, it's going. We found a carcass on the floor here and found some crows on it, and it's always that funny joke, probably dates back. Oh, sorry, you actually got into frame it. Sorry, James. That funny joke of, I will leave your body for the crows, And so we found a carcass, quite a few days old. And you see the zebra looking at it going, shame, poor fellow. But there were about 3 or 4 crows that were there, busy enjoying whatever they were enjoying. So crows, I think, in other parts of the world serve much more of a sort of a scavenging sort of role, like the vultures do here. You do get certain vultures around the world, but most of them have been decimated. There we go. Is it a crow, or is it a pied raven? It looks like a raven. Pied crow. Who can tell me what bird that is? It is a black and white, large raven-like crow bird. I can almost hear him cawing. I just need to double check if it's the same ones we find in South Africa. There's always a good chance up here in the Mara that there could be birds that are very new to me. He's flying right towards us. He's coming to say hello. Very intelligent birds, the crow and raven family. Very, very intelligent. I'm going to leave that with you viewers and see if anyone was able to identify that and tell me exactly what species you think it might be. By the call, I'm pretty sure I know what it is, but let's see. Who knows? Well, we're going to carry on. Send them through to #SafariLive. A lot of people out there in the world believe that visits from crows or ravens are actually ancestors coming to visit them. Anybody believe in that? Lots of interesting beliefs in and around the world, and I always like to pay attention to them and see the interesting stories that come from different cultures and different ideas out there in the world. But alas, folks, still no sign of Kekenya. We have tried really hard in this open area, and the animals have not shown us well enough. The vultures, a couple of them, have shown us to the signs of dead animals, but cheetah, we know, are not scavengers. They feed on fresh kills all the time. Arizona lady, a crow with the right white vest, wearing his tuxedo. It was a tuxedo crow. Indeed. Indeed. Ah, well, I've been wanting to show you one of these. Here he is, just here on the ground. Here he is. I've been wanting to show you one of these. They're not common at all in South Africa, but up here they are regarded as a trash bird. James can get it there in shot. A very quick little shot there of the yellow-throated longclaw, which is a grassland specialist. Beautiful bird to see. We've seen plenty of them already, but haven't been able to get one yet for you on camera. There we go. Very special to see in South Africa, and then to spot them up here, well, they're all over the place, but still special nonetheless. Well, to leave you with that beautiful view of the yellow-throated longclaw, let's go back down to Taylor and the Bushwalk team.
Now the only thing that I have to show you is the wind blowing in, not the wind, the grass blowing in the wind. I couldn't even get that right. Let's see. Let's just watch it for a moment. It's so beautiful. Isn't that gorgeous? That is literally the only thing that we have for you. And of course, it's very scenic. That is stunning. Sierra, yes, I suppose I do have a favorite wildflower, but it's one that we don't really see here in, well, I've never seen it actually, up the side. It's from the eastern Cape of South Africa, so the southeast coast. I'm sure you get it in other places, but that's where I'm most familiar. It is called Oxalis semibola, which is a type of clover, and it's a beautiful purpley color, kind of the colors of, I don't even know if any of you know what September bush is, but you know what? It's probably the color of Darby's cloth, close to this, but with a bit more of a purple tinge to it. And it's very, very, very pretty. Lots of them grow on the ground, and they are edible. They are delicious. They're sort of fresh, and they've got a slight sort of tartness to them too. Really, really nice in salads. I used to use them not only as garnishes, but of course as edible flowers too. They're very, very delicious. And then also, like I just said, there's a tree called, or a little shrub actually, should I say, called September bush, which gets a beautiful flower that kind of looks like the caterpillar pod flower, a very similar, also same sort of color, and it only flowers in September. They're really quite nice, but unfortunately we don't get them up here. And so I'm going to have to say, and then of course I like jasmines because they smell so nice. They're so lovely. And that's my goal. One day I want to have an entire sort of trellis with a jasmine creeper, but growing all around my house so that when it flowers, it just smells so beautiful. I think my mom's favorite, what's my mom's favorite flower? I also like frangipanis, so does my mom, for my matric dance. So like our final year in high school, we have a farewell, a dance. I even had a wreath around my head of frangipanis. It's very pretty. And then what else do I like? I was quite impressed to see the shambok pod. Why did I say it like that? Shambok pod flower, which was yellow. We saw it the other day on Bushwalk. Maybe some of you can share it for those that missed it. That tree is kind of in that direction, but a bit too far away to go and have a look at it. And it's the only shambok pod I've seen on Djuma. I haven't seen any more. We see a lot of them on Chitwa, but not kind of around here at all. So yeah, I think those are my sort of favorite flowers at the moment. But unfortunately, we don't get many of them here. Okie dokie. Now, Tristan's having a great morning. He's seen all of my favorite animals. I know he said he was going to give Horsano a break, but what happens if those elephants go and chase him?
Well, the Ellies, I don't know if they'll chase Tingana. They seem to have gone off in a different direction. And if Tingana just lay flat, like he was, I don't think he's going to be too worried or too phased. At the end of the day, he was a little bit kind of out of the way of where the Ellies actually walked, and so for now he's all okay to carry on with his sleeping, snoozing kind of morning where he's going to just lie up. And it's getting hot now, so I doubt that he's going to do too much more. And unfortunately our zebras and kudu and impalas didn't go to the dam. They all went the opposite way for some odd reason. Maybe they heard the Ellies there and decided, no, we're not going to go and deal with the elephants, we're going to go somewhere else and go and try and get water there. But we waited for them for a little bit and just left now to try and see. Now what I'm doing at the moment is I'm just trying to check for any signs of Thandi and Klalamba, because this is where they would have crossed onto the fire break area, would have been around here. So I think they probably in all likelihood are somewhere in this block off this drainage line. Maybe they like it in here, they spend a lot of time here. And I have a funny feeling that they came along here listening to Tingana saw, and possibly then saw Umfakazi and changed direction, because they were heading straight towards the dam. And I think if they had seen Tingana there, they would have hung around in that area and would have just spent the morning there with him, and we would have found them there. But it doesn't seem that that's the case, and so I think that they may have bumped into Umfakazi or saw him and then just changed direction and carried on. There's lots and lots of tracks for male leopard all over the fire break and boundary, so it seems as though Tingana was up and down all over the place, and then Umfakazi kind of got chased off and went straight east from there. What we're going to do though is we're going to do Hyena Road, because Hyena Road is a great road for Thandi and Klalamba. They're often kind of in between there because it takes them either to Gari cut line or it takes them to this drainage line off Buffelshoek Dam. And so I just want to double check that they haven't crossed out, and then kind of have an afternoon where maybe we'll get lucky and we'll see a third and fourth leopard on that carcass. It seems like that's the way it goes out here at the moment. It's how many leopards you can see on the same carcass. We had 3 this week on one carcass alone, and so maybe we can get 4 with Thandi and Klalamba if they go to that carcass, if Tingana's abandoned it and is not in the area anymore. I have a sneaky suspicion though Tingana's going to head back there by this afternoon. He just wanted to go and find himself a nice shady spot to go lie down. Whatever maybe startled him, he'll wait for that to pass and then head back there again, I think. Might be wrong, we'll see. Still enough meat on that carcass for a leopard to go and feed off it. It's definitely not the end of it. Calcex, no, no sign of Tingana's new girlfriend. She's so shy, I don't think it'd be easy to find her unless she is with Tingana and they are actually mating. I think it'll be very tricky. I think she's one of those leopards that's going to be not really in the mood for vehicles outside of mating, and even with mating we saw that she was very shy, so nothing really. There was a leopard seen drinking not too far from Buffelshoek Dam on a pan on the northern side for 3 days this week, or last week should I say, and that apparently very shy with the cars, but comes down when there's people at the camp and they see her from across the way and she's okay. So it could be her, don't know, difficult to say. It's obviously a leopard, like I say, that when it's shy like that and a male leopard is having to call her out to mate with her, that's pretty tricky to actually kind of find her outside of mating times, or if she's on a kill. And even if she's on a kill, I'd imagine she'd be quite nervy, much like we saw with Mfakazi yesterday. It took us going back and parking quite far to actually get a view of him before he kind of moved off. So I wonder if the same would be true of this female. I suspect that would be the case. Bad combination if the two of them mate together. You never see the two of them. They'll just be all over the place. But no sign of Thandi coming down here, just tracks for zebras at the moment, moving on in this area. It's gotten really, really warm now, so I don't think any leopards are going to be moving around too much now. I'm pretty sure most of our leopards are fairly full-bellied, maybe not Thandi and Klalamba. They might be looking for food, but it's hot now, so I would suspect everybody has found themselves a shady spot and will just be resting for the course of the morning. It's amazing how it's changed in about 45 minutes. It's gone from fairly good to seriously warm, and almost feels like this kind of sun has been put on an afterburner and is now really kind of blitzing this already scorched earth. And so these poor dams are going to just shrink by the day now, and it's amazing how Buffelshoek Dam, even since I've been back, is shrunk. It's the same with Twin Dams and Treehouse. They're all but done now, so I think Trias and Tundams, I'd be surprised if they make it until the first rains. Buffelshoek probably will last and have some puddles, but they are drying very, very quickly. Right, so we don't have much going on here at the moment. Everything is fairly quiet, but Steve is in, well, the greatest spectacle that there is on the African continent when it comes to large animals moving about. He's sitting right in amongst a big herd of wildebeest, and I'm sure he's thoroughly enjoying the migration.
We do. We are watching a whole lot of wildebeest going somewhere. Where they're going, very hard to know. We did stop when they were walking past. We asked them, and they didn't really, I didn't really understand. GNU. I don't know what that means. Off they go. They're heading back towards the Mara River in that direction. So the good news is that they're moving in the opposite direction from Tanzania, back towards the Mara River itself. So maybe this afternoon we could be lucky with a crossing. We've been keeping an eye on these herds, and there's still plenty of grass on this side of the river, so seemingly no need to try and get across the river again, at the moment anyway. We'll see what happens. As we said, it's on our bucket list, and it's something that everybody has on their bucket list, I'm sure, to come and experience the enormous power and force of a huge herd of wildebeest crossing. Just to spend time with them moving through the long plains here. It's awesome. But as I said, they're moving, it's lots of green grass around, but yet they are head down, moving in the direction. Obviously they're all going very far to go and drink something, but the funny thing is we had a herd doing the opposite earlier, going the other way. So maybe they are constantly moving to water and coming back again. It's probably the most likeliest of scenarios. Something I was surprised about is that they will constantly cross the Mara River from one side to the other, constantly crossing. There's not this one cross and it's done. They cross and cross back again and cross back again. And yes, they do have very bushy tails. Very, very nice tails for swatting away the flies, because you can imagine how many flies will be breeding through all of the dung that is deposited by millions of these animals moving through, or should we say hundreds of thousands. 1.3 in total encompass the migration, and so flies would obviously be all over the place, and you know, you need to protect your private parts. Quite a nice scene there with the heat rising. The warmth of the day, as Manu and I discussed yesterday, the wildebeest don't, or the animals don't seem to go near the river in the morning. The crossings all happen in sort of the middle of the day time, when they think it's going to be safer for them, but invariably what they should do is cross earlier, when the crocodile's solar panels aren't fully charged yet and are relaxing on the bank, trying to warm up. Okay, I'm just going to reverse back a little bit at James's request. He's got an idea. How far back do you want me, James? Oopsie. Just reverse back. We've got a whole lot more on their way. See if we can capture them. Yeah. Flying high, we most certainly have mosquitoes in the Mara, and last night I wasn't wearing any socks when I was out on drive, and I was in the marshy area, and I'm sad to say I got a few mosquito bites on my ankles. Yes, most certainly there are mosquitoes, and they are biting flies, and there are ticks. I walked through the very smallest amount of grass the other morning, and I have got tick bites all over the place. I didn't get any tick bites this season in Djuma, and yet I have been inundated with ticks in only about 30 seconds of grass walking. And that obviously has got a lot to do with the number of animals we have in the area, the number of carriers of the ticks. And up where we are, lots of zebra and cattle actually move through. There's a community up on the hill there, Maasai. I believe they're Maasai, I could be mistaken. Here come all of the youngsters. So now this is exactly why the name wildebeest was given to wildebeest when first settlers came to Africa. They look like cows, and so the name beest is actually beest, which means cow. Beest is cow in Afrikaans or Dutch, and wilde means wild. So when you see when they're running like this, they look like wild cows, don't they? Look like cows that have gone a little bit mad in the head. And sometimes you can spend time with them and they run in circles and they go absolutely ballistic, just running around wild cows. Wildebeest sounds a lot better though, but it seems like Taylor, very excitingly, has found herself a very interesting insect.
We have indeed, and look how it's flattening itself out on that piece of grass. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and twist it sideways for you. See how it's virtually invisible now? Can you even see it still? You can just see its antenna flapping around. Now, this is called a grass assassin bug, so you get a variety of assassin bugs out in the wilderness. Quite a few of them that like to devour the caterpillars. You even get some assassin bugs that specifically eat millipedes, which is pretty impressive. I'm sure that this assassin bug will just be feeding on smaller insects that live on blades of grass, and it's actually on thatching grass at the moment. Now, it's obviously grey in colour, and I think it's pretty amazing that this bug walked up the yellow stem, which you can see on the grass, which it's not particularly camouflaged on, but you can see, look how the ends of the grass is dying, and that perfectly camouflages the grass assassin bug. And then of course, to help enhance that camouflage, it completely flattens itself out. Like I said, you just see the antenna. They've got quite long legs too, so they're very slender, elegant bugs, but with exceptionally long legs. So when they are walking around, they're exposed. A hornbill or even a drongo or something like that will spot it fairly easily. So I'm going to let it go now, so to hold it still. Oh, I didn't want it to get on me. No, Snazzy, it's not similar to a mantis. It's a completely different insect entirely. It's a bug, actually. So it's part of the Hemiptera, I think. Isn't it? Something like that. I don't know. I've forgotten what mantises are a part of now. Mantidae? No, I don't know. Anyways, there's something else that I found. Where is it? Over here? The mouse nest. Hang on, let's find it. It's here. It couldn't have gone anywhere. Couldn't have gone anywhere. So yeah, I don't think praying mantises are part of the order of the bugs, the Hemiptera. The end, no, I don't think I would eat an assassin bug. There are actually quite a lot of bacteria around their mouths, and I've been bitten by an assassin bug before, and they tend to get infected quite easily. So I don't think I'd be devouring one of those. Where did it go? I mean, I'm just trying to retrace my steps quickly. Oh, you know what? I think it was here. Okay, I just need to get here, and then I need to turn around, because it's a great big hole in the ground. Where did it go? Okay, the feathers are there, and then the nest was... Can you see it anyway? So it's moved. It can't move. It's obviously... It's somewhere. It's somewhere here. I promise you I'll find it now. What? Because we had a whole lot of things planned. We walked, retracing my steps. We walked here, and then I saw a great big hole in the ground. I went, oh, what's that? And then went, a mouse nest. It's gone now. Can't believe I've completely lost that. Oh well, it all kind of looks the same. It's somewhere around here. I'll try and find it again for you now, but I don't know, my eyes seem to have got confused as to where the nest actually is, but obviously good hiding away. Right, off we go back to Tristan. Let's play the breakfast game. Let's see what he thinks we're going to have for breakfast.
Taylor, I don't know, you've thrown me here because you haven't given me time to think about it. It's a touch and go because we have a fairly new chef, and so you don't quite know what you're going to get. What did we have yesterday? Yesterday we had wraps yesterday, we had eggs, we had bacon. It was a buffet yesterday. Yes, I think we're going to get a little bit of fruit, some sliced up fruit, some sliced up fruit. We might get some hash browns today. There will be some form of egg. I'm going to go with boiled eggs today, or boiled eggs is what we're going to get, or poached, actually. Poached egg is what I'm going to say. And then I don't know what else we're going to get. It's that time of the week. What is today? Tuesday, Goldie? Yes, it's Tuesday. So it's last day before orders come in, which means that it's normally whatever's left is what we get. So maybe actually omelets. I'm going to change my thing to omelets is what we're going to get. Oh, hello, Dwarf Mongoose. Are we racing? Yes, Dwarf Mongoose and I are racing. Look at it go. And are you going to go in? No, you've decided to stay out. So little Dwarf Mongoose and squirrel. There we go. The squirrel goes the squirrel as well. Well done, beastie. It's not easy to follow a bounding squirrel through the bush. So we've had both Dwarf Mongoose and squirrel, which is very, very cool. That's nice. Okay, so we're not going to have Dwarf Mongoose and squirrel for breakfast. I'm not sure. We'll have to see. But I think fruits and maybe omelets and some sort of protein. Anyway, while I think about that, let's send you across to Steve, who's got an interesting bird apparently. And so hopefully by the time we get there after this delay, it will still be there and wouldn't have flown away.
That's not fair, Tristan, to start talking about breakfast. You guys are not far from camp. We're a good hour and a half at least. Well, at least I've got some nuts. So to go back to the question earlier about are there any venomous snakes in the park? Well, the secretary bird that you see there, I'm very excited to be showing it to you if the zebras would just kindly move out of the way. It is almost a snake specialist, walking through the long grass with those very long legs. They are very good at catching snakes, and with the long legs they'll catch them and eat them. The name secretary apparently derived from the fact that it looks like there are pencils sticking in the back of the hair there, behind the ear, almost like a secretary would back in the day. A beautiful bird nonetheless. I have not seen many of these in my life. We saw one the other morning on my first drive out, but sadly we were in a poor signal area. But very, very special to see secretary bird moving through, and I know a lot of you out there are going to be quite excited to be spotting one. I have had a lot of requests in the past back in Djuma to find a secretary bird, but alas, they don't enjoy that landscape. It's too thick and too full of trees. The secretary bird likes open landscapes like this with sort of small shrubs, like you can see in the background. There's sort of those shepherd tree-like trees where they can nest in. They're generally, in South Africa, in the Kruger Park, like open areas like this with sort of short, sort of thorny trees which they nest in. So I'm going to assume the lack of short, thorny trees out here means that the secretary bird just uses some of these other bushes that are available. But walking on its quest to try and flush out a snake, I have no doubt it will also feed on rodents as well as lizards. We're just going to have to move back very slightly as he is on an absolute mission. Sid Hart, you say it's endangered. I don't know if it's endangered, but it is definitely very, very unavailable. We don't find it very, very often in parts of South Africa, but in open areas, definitely they are quite abundant. But this is the second time seeing one up here in the Masai Mara. So from this very, very cool bird, we're going to go back down to Taylor McCurdy on bushwalk.
And what a wonderful bushwalk it has been. I think the highlight of my bushwalk had to have been those 2 spotted eagle owls. It was a really cool sighting. Otherwise, it was quiet, very quiet. I think it was nice that we gave Hosanna a break today, and hopefully he relaxes throughout the day and doesn't get bothered. It's important that the celebrities of the show have a break every now and then, and Hosanna really has been working exceptionally hard over the last couple of months, or since his return. So since Tristan's return too. So very, very nice to, of course, have him back. He's definitely been super entertaining. Sad that we gave him a bit of a fright this morning. I think he's still kind of shaken from his encounter with Hukamuri, so it might take him a bit of time to just get back to him, his usual self, when we're on foot with him again. But we'll be extra cautious. But thank you very much for joining us this morning Remember, we'll be out in the cars this afternoon from both Kenya and South Africa. So join us later for the Sunset Safari, where we'll find lots of things.